All right, good night, everybody, or should I say good day, everybody, because we are into a new day. We are into May the 1st of 2024. God has led us this far for those of you who believe in God like that. And I'm very grateful. I'm what you need. You're watching my channel. We're going to talk about restoring the Snyderverse, the RebelVerse, and its success. We'll also talk about WBD's failure, and we'll also talk about Free Palestine. So let's get into it without further ado. So on X, which you're looking at right now in front of you, you're going to see that Zack Snyder's Justice League, according to Variety, uh, not Zack Snyder's Justice League, my bad, Rebel Moon Part 2, according to Variety, debuted at the top of the Variety streaming originals film chart for the week of April 19th to the 25th, with 740.8 million minutes watched and 6.1 million views. So here, if you look below here, you see a chart breakdown of it. Just going to show you guys real quick. So this is Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, 741 million minutes watched, which is equivalent to, according to them, 6.1 million views. So from April the 19th to the 25th, it debuted April the 19th. I believe that was Friday. And the 25th was, I believe, the other Friday, I guess from Friday to Friday. Um, it did this. In second place was What Jennifer Did with 240 million minutes watched. And then Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp, which was 202 million minutes watched. These movies launched before. Um, Here's some comments underneath that. Um, Nathaniel M says 740 million minutes. That's a lot of eyeballs glued to screens. DCU says Rebel Moon, the Scar Giver. And he shows on Netflix, of course, it was the number one streaming movie on Netflix. Right. But see, I want to get you guys to understand in perspective what this is really saying, because there's a lot to be said about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys yet another graphic. So let me remove this and show you guys yet another graphic. Let me show you guys yet another graphic so you guys will get the perspective on it. Let's see here. Yeah, got it. Boom. Okay. So Variety elaborated a little bit more on that, and you'll get to see a chart on this. Let me blow it up a little bit more so you guys can see, because I know you guys can't see everything here. So I'm gonna put it full screen so you guys can see everything here. And yeah. Variety said this. On the film side, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, debuted on top with 740.8 million minutes watched and 6.1 million views. The release of the sequel gave a boost to Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, which landed at number 4 with 200.5 million minutes and 1.4 million views. In between the two, What Jennifer Did, 240.2 million minutes watched and 2.8 million views. Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp, 202.4 million minutes watched or 2 million views. Roadhouse led the bottom half of the chart with 136.1 million minutes watching the 6 weekend. So let me see if I can put this in perspective. What Variety is really saying, that out of every single streaming platform, the films that were launched on those streaming platforms, Rebel Moon was at the top spot when it comes to that. Uh, you know, it had the most amount of minutes viewed. So as you can see here in this chart, which I don't know if you guys can see this, if I need to blow it up some more or what, not quite sure. But Rebel Moon Part 2, I'm using the mouse here, did 740.8 minutes. Second place was What Jennifer Did by Netflix. So these are all Netflix stuff. But it also has the total amount of, I can't seem to, I'm trying to, let me see what I can do here. Nope. I can't actually show you everything. I'm trying to show you everything, but there's previous minutes that may have been watched here. Like What Jennifer Did had 674 minutes, watched before that. And this, I don't know how much. But anyway, the point is, these are all Netflix. The first three are Netflix, and Rebel Moon Part 4, or the first four are Netflix. Then you have Roadhouse, which came up on Prime Video. Then you had Love Divided, which is another Netflix movie. Then you had Ricky Stanicki, which was a Prime Video. All right, that's in seventh place. Eighth place, The Beautiful Game, was Netflix again. And Netflix just dominated everything. Stolen was on Netflix, and then Lyft. Now you got to remember, these streaming platforms, they put out a lot of movies, a lot of content. Okay, and the only two streaming platforms that top 10 chart here was Netflix and then Amazon Prime. Now you have to remember, there's Paramount Plus, there's HBO Max, there's Disney Plus, right? There's Sony, right? Well, Sony works with Amazon. So all of these big giant megaliths on their streaming platforms, when it comes to movies, their movies weren't competing with Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 2. So this is a huge, huge thing, I think. We're into the second week currently on Netflix in my country. Currently on Netflix in my country, I believe Rebel Moon is at fourth place or something like that. If you look here, these are the top 10 movies in Trinidad and Tobago today, and Rebel Moon's right now at number 4. Okay. And I believe this is Rebel Moon, the Star Giver, but you also have Rebel Moon, Rebel Moon, the Child of Fire. That actually was working, as you can see, was working in tandem with the other one. So the first Rebel Moon actually got more views to it and more eyes on it. And then this new version of Rebel Moon also did well. So people have been actually watching both movies together, and I was part of that. I was part of that project so late in the night. I was part of that project actually. I watched it with Lord Koj. So it was really cool to do that. And oh yeah, you guys can't see what I'm showing. I just realized that you guys can't see what I'm showing, which is kind of a pity. Hold on a second. I'm gonna sort that out right now. So okay, now you guys are gonna see it. Right. So I was saying that in my country, I'm in Trinidad and Tobago, Rebel Moon is at number 4 right now. And
Hello, James.
let's click on this,
Hello, James.
scroll down. Rebel Moon itself now is out of the top 10. I don't know what position it's at. Let me see. Oops, I went into the movie. I don't want to do that. Not Skyget was at number 4. Yeah.
You know, the last.
But Rebel Moon itself is at what position? I just want to know. Oh, come on. God damn it. You got to be such an asshole, man. I don't know why it wants me to play the film. I don't get it, but whatever. So anyway, it's not in the top 10. That's the important thing. All right. But you know, it's been a tremendous run. Oh, by the way, if you want to support this channel, don't forget you can do so by donating to my PayPal. And if you want to be a guest on here, it's very late in the night, but if you want to be a guest on here, the StreamYard link is there. Now I know it's very late in the night, and I know it's going to be kind of difficult for you guys to actually. Some of y'all are sleeping, some of y'all, so whenever you see the stream, give me a shout out. Smash the like button. If you want to support this channel by donating, feel free to do so as well. But I just wanted to point out these things. So the RebelVerse has been doing very, very well. There's more stuff I got to show you guys. So let me see if I can get it real quick here on Twitter. So this is what they were talking about on Twitter. It wasn't just Netflix movies, but it's movies with all streaming platforms that we're actually looking at here. Okay, all streaming platforms, which is I mean extremely awesome if you ask me, right? Um, yeah, new. Oh, you guys can't see this. Let me see if I can get it for you guys to see. So I'm on Twitter right now. So on Twitter, let's see what's happening here. Yeah, okay, you guys can see the Twitter now. On Twitter, New Geek said, "Hold up, Rebel Moon debuted at the top of Variety streaming original film chart for the week of 19th to 25th, 280 minutes watch and 6.1 million views." Snyder haters in shambles because they were saying that Rebel Moon didn't do well and it's a failure and blah 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 blah. But then we come here and okay, hold on a second, you guys not seeing this either. I know you're not seeing it, so let me hop across here so you guys can see it. Screen Rant had this to say: Rebel Moon has a weaker Netflix debut than Part 1, but has a clear advantage. And the advantage they're going to point out in this article is that despite negative reviews, the sci-fi film debuted at 44.2 million hours viewed from 21.4 million viewers, with Part 1 also being watched by subscribers. So what the thing is, because people also watch Part 1 with Part 2, collectively, these two parts of a movie, which is really one movie, actually generated, when you put the views together, quite a big amount. And just to remember, a lot of people went back and watched the first one and then went into the second one, like one huge movie, which was really big. And there's the advantage right there. Part 1 returned to Netflix streaming chart and in the top 10. In fact, it was, I think, top 4 or 5 or something like that. So I asked the question if it's enough to continue the franchise, and they're saying they will wait and see, but actually it is. It's been extremely successful. The second one was not watched as much as the first one, but that's because the first one it came out near to a holiday, so there was an extra boost with the holiday and everything. But having said that, this thing's already successful. I mean, this thing's already done, and then you have director's cuts coming out as well. People are going to watch that, so it's going to be extremely successful. And for the price of $160 million, you get 4 films. That's like $40 million per film. So I mean, you can't go wrong with this stuff. I mean, Zack Snyder is a genius when it comes to this stuff, and that's why he's so successful. Which leads us to the next thing I want to talk to you guys about. So let me get let me just also go into something else here. There's another article here I want you guys to see. So let me remove this. Stop the screen, present, share screen. There's another article I want you guys to see, if I can find it here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So this article says, let's do the Zack Snyder math on Rebel Moon Part 2 Netflix viewership. And basically they're saying he kind of miscalculated things, but he was saying if it theoretically went that way, this is what it would be. It would rival Barbie, but they know the theatrical release, is much different. All Zack Snyder was saying is that the base of viewership that you get from Netflix is very wide. Whether all those people would go into the theater to see his movies, another story. But this is where they say that it's different. When he's talking about 1.6 billion dollars could be achieved if the viewership is doubled because 2 people go to see the movie that have viewed the movie on Netflix. So that's where he's coming from. Obviously it's theoretical. Obviously, people who may watch things on Netflix doesn't necessarily mean they would watch the movie in the theater, but it does mean a lot of eyes are on it. So that's a very important point. And of course, Netflix has tremendous subscription. So that's what this article is basically about here. And I just wanted to mention that article as I'm doing this. Remember, you can also jump on here as a guest and chop it up with me. You can be a guest on here if you want to. Also, you can donate via PayPal if you want to. All praise be to the Most High God. I didn't mention that because it's my first video for the day. It's very late, but I got to get it done. So I wanted to show you guys one more thing. One more thing here. Concerning Zack Snyder, Rebel Moon, and that is that I covered all this already. That Rebel Moon also had, I think it reached, according to I can't remember what the name of the thing is, but let me see if I can find my profile somewhere here. There we are. It would be on my profile. Okay, I'm going to go back to Twitter for a second here, people. So we're back on Twitter. And I want to show you something. Let me see if I can find it. I have to look at my retweets. I think my retweets or something. I don't know. Hold on a second, guys. I'll see if I can find it here somewhere. Oh my. We have a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to Free Palestine. I have a lot of things I want to say about that, but I just want to get this first. Let's see here. All right, so Center House was the one that talked about Rebel Moon being the most streamed. Rebel Moon Part 2 reached Netflix top 10 in 92 countries and pulled its prequel back into its global list at number 5. This is Center House. Shout out to Center House. It did well. Zack Snyder now has 3 consecutive #1 films on Netflix, which is 100% correct. And add to the fact that as we're saying this, what's trending right now is Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's trending right now. You know what I mean? So it's it's something to when this is what's happening. It's happening all around. And that's why I say restore the Snyderverse is the thing. I mean, nothing really beats back that kind of news. I want to. There's one more thing I got to say, but I'm trying to find it. So they have all kinds of things here in Rebel Moon. They have merchandising, all kinds of stuff. This is the Snyderverse here, which is really awesome. We'll talk about the student protest in a minute. Sammy just said that the Rebel Moon, the Scargiver, remains #1 on Netflix top 10. Rebel Moon, the Child Fighter, is into its 6th week in the top 10. Now this happened 7 hours ago, so I don't know. She's in a different part of the world. I don't know if she's in the United States of America. If she is, that's really dope. If that's really going on there. But it's just really crazy how that's going on. I know today I don't think it's in the top spot, but who knows? This was against more stuff here about Rebel Moon. Let me see if I can find it. I'm looking for a specific bit of information here. I hope I get it. So 5 hours ago, Henry Cavill's Superman was, trending as the #1, trend in entertainment. And guess what? It's still #1 in the trending entertainment. So that's kind of crazy. Okay. Here it is. Okay, so what I wanted to show you guys is this, and this is my post right here. So I'm going to put it up. My post is showing that Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon dominated the charts in all original streaming movies: Netflix, Disney Plus, Prime, Paramount Plus, Hulu, Stream on Max, WBD. But the WBD stuck, sorry, my bad. The WBD stuck is plummeting. WBD stuck is at a record low. This is the lowest WBD stocks has ever been in a long, long time. It is at right now $7.38 today. It dropped by 76 cents. I remember Damian Anton Vincent saying, we want to get it down to $5. That's not an impossibility anymore. And apparently it didn't even need us to do anything. These people are doing such a horrible job of managing Warner Brothers that it's crashing and burning, ladies and gentlemen. It's crashing and burning as we speak. There's very little interest by the fans for the content in Warner Brothers. That's the truth. And this is the result of what's happening. The disinterest in DC, the disinterest in what Warner Brothers has to offer. And it'll continue to be that way until they restore the Snyderverse. It's just what it is. Nothing has come that could replace what the Snyderverse was bringing to the table. And people are now realizing that. And that the execs are going to learn it the hard way, I believe. But this is clear evidence that what they're trying to do right now with Warner Brothers is not working. And it's not, and DC was supposed to keep them afloat because this was a big universe, and they're trying to launch it with James Gunn. And like I said before, Zack Snyder's movies are doing exceptionally well. They're doing very, very well. And so, the haters, they come around, the trolls, but they don't have power. They don't have power behind it. Carlos on Twitter said this. He says, penny stocks. He had me laughing because I'm just going to be real with you guys. These guys had a great thing. And I'm going to show you guys something. Okay. I'm going to show you guys something. So we mentioned Henry Cavill here in trending, right? Henry Cavill. You know why Henry Cavill comes up? I did do a Superman, I did a post on Twitter about Superman. I'll probably find it somewhere. But I said, well, Henry Cavill's hands down the best Superman ever, right? And some people were, trolls came through and were trying to attack me or whatever. But suffice it to say, I want to show you guys something because I like to show you guys stuff. So I'm going to show you guys something here. Let me show you guys something here. Hold on a second. I always wanted to do this. So I get the opportunity to do it. So right here, this is my video, so I shouldn't have problems. Watch this. Now, the reason I'm showing you guys this is because fact of the matter is Warner Brothers had the heir apparent to Christopher Reeve as Superman. They actually had a guy, he wasn't trying to be like Christopher Reeve. They, Zack Snyder and they did as if there was no previous Superman history behind Superman. So they weren't trying to be like Christopher Reeve. But no matter what, Christopher Reeve showed up in Man of Steel. And everybody talked about it when they saw Henry Cavill's face when he's fighting the World Engine, and it's like transfigured into Christopher Reeve's face. And you guys just saw it. You just witnessed it in this stream. And the point behind it is this, that Henry Cavill, he has the characteristics and traits of a Christopher Reeve Superman, but just more modernized. And I found different points in both Zack Snyder's Justice League and also in Man of Steel where Henry literally looked like Christopher Reeve. His face configured into that. I don't think he consciously tried to do that. I don't think he's trying to patent Christopher Reeve or anything. It just happened. And the point behind it is I feel like in a sort of spiritual way, Christopher Reeve just kind of showed up in Man of Steel to say, this is the guy. to Warner Brothers. I feel like that. I really do. And um, it's just amazing how these people are so clueless as to what these movies mean to people. They're clueless as to who they have doing these movies, that they fired Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill, you don't find a perfect Superman every day. You don't. Okay? Henry Cavill, though he was a fat kid, and they call him Fat Cavill when he was a kid, we saw young Henry Cavill dress up as Superman. Since he was a child, he conducted himself in a manner that was like Superman. You don't get that every day. You don't get actors that are like that they literally, their lives align with the character. Gal Gadot. Nobody can see Gal Gadot other than Wonder Woman because she just has the qualities and characteristics that align her with Wonder Woman. It's the same for Ben Affleck with Batman, particularly the older version of Batman. So the casting was so spot on. And the company and even James Gunn, they don't seem to get it. They're always trying to emulate something. They're always trying to imitate something. There's no originality. There's no imagination. There's no creativity. There's imitation. There's not creativity. They talk about Zack Snyder's imitating this from this movie and that from this movie. He's not imitating anything. He's telling a story, but he's using the technology that's there, and he's also using, shall I use the right word here? He's using recognizable icons to tell a very elaborate, very original story, so that the story feels a bit familiar, but at the same time, and I do it with my music all the time, the story feels familiar to you, but it's not familiar. It's a deception. It's a different story to anything you've heard. But it helps you by keeping the known so you can go into the unknown. One more thing I want to say about that, because I just want to show you the actual figures for Warner Brothers here. I want to show you the actual figures because, man, these people, man, they be dragging their company into the ground. They dragging it into the ground. I ain't got no other way to say it. This is their stock numbers. This is the NASDAQ for today. This is live. Okay, they closed at 7:59 p.m. as they say here. So yesterday's stock price plummeted by 79 cents. So they closed at $7.36 USD. You can see the collapse right there. And there's nothing I can say except these people are their own kryptonite. They are literally destroying the company without anyone's help by the poor choices they have made. They have a fan base, a gun fan base, that rides with James Gunn and is very vicious and attacking people for no reason at all. And that fan base can't turn a fucking buck for them. Not even 1 fucking cent they can turn for them. Okay? That fan base has been voracious and so on. They've been praising certain films. They praised The Flash. They praised Shazam. Blue Beetle was supposed to be the first character in James Gunn's universe, the DCU or whatever the hell he calls it. And that movie flopped. And they had a big campaign. You remember that? The big campaign they had to save Blue Beetle and all this bullshit. And it flopped because there's not enough of them. And the general audience is not going to just ride with a set of people who are being disingenuous. So they got mad and spiteful, and they come on Zach's stuff, and they go on YouTube, and they go everywhere, and they try to down Zach, and they got critics. They got a machine working for them, the mainstream media working for them, and it still didn't do shit. Zach's movies are still doing well. They're still prospering. It doesn't matter how much you pan them. It doesn't matter what you do, because the truth is there's a disconnect between mainstream and the system and Hollywood and real fans, real audiences, and fan bases. There's a disconnect. And it's the same thing happening in this world with the leadership of the world in specific countries, particularly Europe and America and Israel. There's a disconnect. The people of Israel are protesting Netanyahu's leadership. Okay? The people on the ground, a lot have been censored and a lot of them have been muted, but a lot of people in Israel are protesting this war. A lot of people. They're being silenced, they're being put in prisons and stuff, but there's a significant portion of Israelis, more than 50% of them, don't believe the narrative. More than 50%, even more. The more this war goes on, is the more the Israelis, the majority of Israelis, they're not tremendously majority. They're like half. They're like 55%, 45%, but nonetheless, a significant portion of them do not want this war. Because guess what? Most people do not want war. People just want to live, exist, and be in peace. So it's not surprising that we have these uprisings. It's not surprising that people are saying, where are the hostages? We're looking for the hostages. We just want our families back. Okay? But they're not broadcasting everything. But trust me, in Israel right now, it's upside down. People are calling these leaders murderers. They're calling them criminals. In Israel, Israelis are calling the government criminals. Yes, they're policing the state. They're beating up people, imprisoning people, all illegally, so that they will mute that resistance. So you don't hear about it that much, but it's there. And it's very prevalent in Israel. Very. Okay? Because a lot of those people are not settlers. They're not the colonizers. The settlers are all vehemently for, what Netanyahu is doing, but not the citizens within Israel. It's a big hullabaloo going on in Israel, and it's going on in the Knesset as well, in their parliament. It's an uproar right now in Israel, because what's happening is Israel's becoming it has been a police state for a while, but now it's even more a police state, because they don't want people to be, they don't want dissent inside of Israel, so they're trying to lock it down. And at the same time, they're doing all these atrocities, saying, oh, God gave us this land. We need to get this land. And Amalek needs to be wiped off the planet. While they're doing that bullshit, right? And the world's just watching like morons, right? The people, not the governments, the people are uprising. And the people should uprise, because if these people get their way, not only will they wipe out the Middle East, they'll wipe out the world as we know it. Because we're seeing it on the college campuses. We're seeing, this is not police crackdown. This is fucking police coming with military gear, and they're going into these places, and they're literally starting to slaughter, brutalize peaceful people. But they're going to get a rude awakening very soon, because one thing about the United States of America is a lot of people in the United States of America, citizens walking around and civilians, have been militarily trained. And a lot of these civilians are arming themselves to the nine. Okay? So if they keep up this bullshit and they don't defend and protect, I'm not going to say where it's going to come from, but I'm going to say this. They're going to meet resistance, and they're going to meet resistance that can kill them. Okay? I know exactly what I'm saying, and I know what I'm saying is right. Okay? Americans have the right to bear arms. You want to be rolling up in there playing the fool and acting the fool, slamming, body slamming students and stuff and starving them and locking them out and all this and suspending them. Okay. Okay. We know it's Zionists behind that. But I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna say this categorically. Americans will not take that bullshit for long. This is the difference between Americans and anybody else in the world. Okay? New Yorkers will not take that bullshit for long. If you've been in New York, you don't fuck around with New Yorkers. So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be 100%. Koj, Lord Koj in the building. What's up, my brother? They're doing it right now in California as well. I'm going to say this. Listen, it ain't going to be martial law, but they're going to learn who to fuck with and who not to fuck with. You're going to excuse my French, but the police are behaving like how we know the police behave, and they're behaving very much like the IDF. They're behaving very much like Israeli police. They are behaving like a policed state. Oh, my boy, Koj in the building. What's up, my brother?
Hey, what's up?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I just had to talk about this.
I felt the same. That's why I hit you up. So I was glad to see you on when I was able to, be free for a little bit before.
Yeah, well, I didn't get to come on your stream early on because
No, I didn't do it at all. Things happen, busy.
Oh, nice. Well,
so
this is
I was
great.
very, very happy to see that you went live because it's at a breaking point where things need to be said and readdressed because I can't believe it's gone this far.
Well, it's going to go
to
further, but
everything
I'm
you're
just going to
saying.
say this though. I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
The students, they really are convicted in what they're doing. I love this generation for that. They're following their convictions, and I know some of the people who are organizing some of these things. I saw one or two of them on Twitter, and I realized that there's a reason why they're not coming at certain campuses. They're not messing with certain campuses. And yes, you also go through a certain protocol, like you have to inform, the admin and these people in your campus what you're doing. But I think also it has to do with police know they know who to mess with and who not to mess with, pretty much.
Especially the campuses that are very Zionist friendly, so to speak.
Right. There's another thing. There's a lot going on in the US that people don't really talk about, like the veterans. There's a lot of veterans in the United States of America. And a lot of the veterans don't like what's going on. That's all I'm going to say. They don't like what's going on.
Yeah, a lot of our elders are really seeing what's going on. That's really a big hindrance because the ones guilty of laying support in the genocide and occupation have been doing a narrative war because they can't afford that. The truth
Right.
being out.
But you remember a soldier actually put himself on fire.
Aaron Bushnell.
He did it as a statement, and the veterans, one of the saddest things, politicians always peddle, we must always respect our veterans and love our veterans, but they don't really respect and love the veterans. They don't really treat the veterans nicely. Nope. But having said that, there's a lot of veterans who have been they've seen combat multiple times. We also have actually a family who are in the CIA, and he travels to different countries and stuff. And you also have combat veterans who have defected, meaning they have sort of left the service. So there's a lot. I don't think people understand. You can't just overthrow the United States of America like that. I'm just saying.
No, you can't.
You can't just turn it into a police state like that. There's too many specialists in this country, or in the country, that are very convicted, and they would die for the freedoms. They know what they've sacrificed. I was saying on your program that there's how far will you go to protect freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these guys have done some things that to ensure that freedoms are maintained, to ensure the balance is maintained. So I don't think, and I will just say this, I'm going to say it, I'm going to put it out there. They're not terrorists. Some of those guys are actually, uh, I'll say it. Some of those guys are actually involved in these campaigns the students have, and they're sort of a protection for them.
I want there to be protection for the students. What's going on for them
Well,
is wrong.
well, some of these veterans are running operations to make sure they're protected. So I'm just saying that. I'm just gonna put it out there. These
Yeah,
guys don't
those I
play
don't
though.
know, so you'd have to let me know about that.
Yeah, they don't play though. And I actually saw. I'm not gonna say more.
No,
But
no. Well, the ones I've been, because I've been to the protests. I just with the Jewish Voices for Peace. I've marched
oh
with
yeah,
them,
oh
and
yeah,
Palestinian Youth Movement, and they're a peaceful organization. And I've been just showing up to when they put the notice out to show up here to march and protest peacefully. So
yeah.
uh, that's exactly what these kids are doing. And you go
Hmm.
at these kids and bully them like IDF, very IDF
Right.
trained. Like, come on now.
And also
How is
remember
that a threat
this.
that requires such a
Remember,
force?
usually it's some Zionist that calls the police.
Right,
That's how it
exactly.
starts. Or the admin may call the police, right?
Especially with all the
Because
footage we've seen with witnesses of the pro Zionists and the horrendous things they blatantly say. It's like
right,
they don't realize they're being recorded, or they're just that vile. It's ridiculous.
they're bold because they're going to say, well, you're anti-Semite or whatever. But
Yeah,
it's not working. The anti-Semite stuff is not working anymore. And this generation is not, they're like on their watch, this generation is not having it. So, it doesn't matter how many times the police crack down, they're going to just come right back to the place and continue what they're doing, their
hmm
demonstrations. They're not going to back down. Um, but I would say that sometimes you need to have protection. So but I know that certain places have protection.
I hope so, because I've just so far onto my hand, I've just heard the threats that they're going to shoot us or whatever. It's just from other people who
Yeah,
are like aggressively against, saying that killing innocent people is wrong, which I don't
this is
understand.
the thing. They're doing the same thing. I guess they're trained by, you remember, Israel and America have their exchange programs that they have all the time, and they
Mm.
trade ideas in research and development and all kinds of things, right? So it's not like Israel. That's why it could hurt America's interest to just leave Israel hanging, because they do a lot of work with Israel, right?
Yeah.
But having said that, um, the current regime that's in Israel is, I mean, it's just horrible. I mean,
It's
I
been
we
horrible.
always
Before in August 2023, there were like by like thousands of Israelis protesting against Netanyahu's rule, and that was August 2023.
actually it's
People
a
are
lot of Israelis, but it's just
yes, a
they're
lot
muted.
by the thousands.
Yes, it's a lot.
So
There, I
some
think
people are saying
they did
he's
a
pushing
poll.
aggressively here for multiple reasons, but one of them is to kind of bully his way to maintain power.
Right. So he has a police state right now. So for people who don't know, in Israel, you can get put in prison for just speaking about the Palestinians in a sort of positive light, in any positive light.
Hmm.
There was a teacher who was doing an exchange program where he would have his students talk to the students in Palestine, in Gaza, in the West Bank, etc., via you know the internet.
Hmm.
And he was incarcerated for a brief period of time because he was doing that, and they still have his case pending. So this is how they try to intimidate people and keep them from speaking out. They try to censor people, and they've been doing it in East Jerusalem very efficiently. Um, Not even the Christians in East Jerusalem, the Muslims in East Jerusalem, and even the Jews who do not like what's happening, they can't speak openly about it. They're really cracking down on East Jerusalem area. And then,
Hmm.
of course, the West
Yeah.
Bank, they're killing people left, right, and center in the West Bank. Um,
Yeah, the settlers are going crazy there again.
oh yeah, it's real crazy right now.
And
They're basically trying to take all the land and get all the people out of there or kill them or whatever. They don't care. and they believe that the people are Amalek. They actually last yesterday, the minister of, what was it, foreign affairs and development or something like that, labor or something like that, he spoke about the people as Amalek again, and that they have to
Mm.
finish the job. So these people aren't playing.
Oh,
They're like straight up trying to. It's literally what you think it is. Straight
it's
up genocide.
shocking how it's actually happening in this day and age,
Yeah, I mean,
unapologetically and with
this is
excuses.
like Nazi Germany all over again. I mean, this is terrible, and I can't believe that we've not had a coalition literally start to take, militarily speaking, start to stop these people. Iran's been staying on the side. Well, then the United Nations, they have NATO, they have all these things. Why aren't those things activated and brought into play? Yeah, you say that America is vetoing things. Okay, cool. Then you should be able to work around that. There should be some infrastructure in place to ensure that you have some sort of militarized escort into Gaza, because these people need protection. You can't just send them into Gaza and they just get shut down and die. This should have
Mm.
happened already. This should have happened already. You can't be, and I don't want to hear Israel talk about making a mistake. There's no mistake here. Okay. Whether you made a mistake or not, we got to make sure we hold you accountable, because we can't be making those kinds of mistakes and people's
Yeah.
lives are going down the tube. So they should have peacekeeping presence in Gaza, in the West Bank, in East Jerusalem. You know, they should be having a peacekeeping presence there, because that's what they did in Yugoslavia. That's how they kept the peace. Um, they went into Yugoslavia. They found out that there was genocide there, and then they went in with their peacekeeping forces, and that needs to happen. I know it's going to be mostly European countries, which is not necessarily a good thing, because again,
Mhm.
most of these so-called Jews that are in Israel or Palestine, they came from Europe, right?
Yeah, Netanyahu's from Poland.
Yeah, they're Europeans, really, right? Yes, they have Jewish ancestry, but they're not necessarily purely Jewish, right? And then the other thing about it is, they claim that the land was theirs 2,000 years ago or whatever. But if you have a house, right? My great 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 grandparents, for some reason, had to leave that area, and you're living there now. How do I have the right, just because I'm the descendants of them, to come in your house and take over your house and say, "Oh, my grandparents 3, 4 generations ago used to own this place"? No, you can't do that, right? You can't just displace people because you say this is your place. Then, if that's the case, then Hitler was right, right?
Yep.
Germany's really our place, right? The Jews migrated into here, so kick them out, and we just keep Germany for ourselves, right? That's the logic, right? So I
Huh.
I, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand why Palestinians can't go back to their homeland. You can conquer a place, but you leave the people there. You know what I mean? That's what happened under the Ottoman Empire. That's what happened under the British Empire for a certain period. Now you can't go back to your homeland. You can't live there. That's ridiculous. And I said, the foreigners from Europe, they come in and take it. No, 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 that's wrong. It's just wrong. And I don't have a problem saying that. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if they try to censor. You got to tell the truth. You got to tell the truth out here, and that's the truth. You know, that's the truth. People should be able to go back to where they used to live, and this has happened with America as well, with the Native Americans, right?
Hmm.
So
People deserve equal rights,
they
especially when they
deserve to live where they live, and so America was like one of the colonial projects. There's many. Where I live in Trinidad, there was a colonial project as well. And again, the original peoples were displaced, right? They were killed off, displaced, whatever. And then these imperialists went on to do what they wanted to do. So we went from Spain to France to England, right? And these are all atrocities that we don't speak about in our history. or Europe doesn't couch it as atrocities, but they were atrocities. And what's happening now in real time is an atrocity. Um, and not gonna pan out well for Israel. It's just not gonna pan out well for Israel. It's what
That
it
could be
is.
the main reason why these atrocities aren't taught, because they're clearly still in effect in different areas of the world. And
Correct.
that's unfortunately, tragically, shockingly, what we're seeing right now. And it's
Exactly.
a proof that this occupation is not working out. Occupation, by definition, is supposed to be temporary, and it's supposed to be taking care of the civilians that are being occupied. And none of
Correct.
that's happening.
Correct.
And this apartheid regime is the problem.
Definitely. The
That's the
system,
core
the
root of the whole
system is a
thing.
problem. It's
Hmm.
not just the regime, it's a system that's governed under, that the regime is governing under, is a problem. That's why Israel
Exactly.
cannot exist as it is. They say Israel has a right to exist, but the Palestinians don't have a right to exist. You get what I'm saying? That
Yeah,
makes no
they don't have
sense.
equal rights. It's
And
ridiculous.
then here's the biggest joke. They talk about Israel so small. Then what is Palestine? Isn't Palestine smaller than Israel?
Hmm.
So how can you
The
say,
embers that are
"Oh,
left.
poor me, I'm so small. I'm in the middle of the Middle East," and you're bullying somebody who's smaller than you that's not armed? Most of the people are not armed, right? They're not
Hmm.
armed. That's terrible. You have a little resistance group in there who, uses whatever little strategies and tricks they have up their sleeve to ambush you, like the Viet Cong did to America.
As
But
we saw in Rebel Moon. It is because my boy was seeing
precisely,
it with me when I saw it, and he's like, "Dude, this is just like what's going on in Palestine." I was like, "No," he's like, "We're trying to be quiet in the
exactly.
theater," but it's like, "What?"
Yeah. As,
Not to make light of the
luckily,
situation, of
one
course,
of the
but
good
it's
things about Palestine
yeah.
is it makes headline news, right? So it actually makes news. There's the Albanians who've been cleared out of Albania. The thing that's happening in Congo. There's the
Mm-hmm.
big
Sudan.
war between Eritrea and Ethiopia. There's a lot of things going on, right? All over the world. And a lot of this is actually fueled by, unfortunately, the US. Okay. They have a role to play in this destabilization and stuff like that. And we know about it
Same
in the
with
Caribbean a
Israel.
lot.
They're the biggest exports of diamonds from Congo, and they're the
Yes.
exports. Hmm.
Then there's
It's hello,
Germany,
people. Hello.
France. France has done a lot of
Second,
bad things in Africa.
mm-hmm.
And we could go on and on and on and on about how these European powers, or empires as we call them, which is so amazing. The mother world, that's
Mm-hmm.
so crazy. But these empires, how they've just, destroyed, looted, pilfered a lot of settlements, a lot of nations and countries, and exploited them. And to this day, they exploit my country. My country produces oil, and the bulk of the money and the bulk of the products goes to these foreign BP, Amoco, Shell, Atlantic LNG, and so on and so on. So it's like these companies come to your country, um, and they take your resources and they give you like little sprinkles. Okay, here, hold that, a flat fee or something, and it is what it is.
They did to India.
Oh, they did it to India. The Chinese fought back. Russians fought back. The Russians fought back from after Gorbachev and um, signed that deal with Ronald Reagan. Now, what you're seeing is a pushback where Putin's in power. It's not a democracy. It's not a democracy. Let's forget about that. He's
Mm-hmm.
more seen as a czar, and basically, they're trying to go back to the old values and the old system that they had. The CIA is attempting to kill him, obviously. So that's why he had a second attempt on his life. But he's basically the guy that kind of holds the country together because he's one leader. He's not changing. Even though they say they're having elections, they're not really having elections, right? We all know this. So it's kind of like a rotation of him still there, which is what, guess, if you have Donald Trump come back into power, that's what he'll try to sort of emulate. So that's that. But quite frankly, I gotta admit they're not much different. Even Joe Biden's not much different from Donald Trump. We realize in terms of not just foreign policy, but even in how sometimes how he could suppress freedom of speech, how initiatives are taken to
Yeah, they're both
suppress
going to
freedom.
do the same thing just differently.
Right,
It's
exactly.
the two wings of the same bird, and the bird belongs to Netanyahu.
Yes, basically, the Israeli lobbying groups have a lot of sway in almost every facet of entertainment and sport and life. Yeah, they have a lot of sway in a lot of things, and
APAC.
yeah, APAC is one of the
Yes,
Israeli
people don't
lobbying
realize
groups.
it's just one of others.
Yeah, there's many. They
It's
go.
it's probably
They,
the popular one right
Like
now.
every single brand, like you drink Sprite or Coca-Cola and stuff, they literally have stuff in that. They have investments in that.
Hmm.
Like they have investments in everything. Like Disney takes a lot of APAC's money. Like for real. Like it's crazy how they got
That's
their
why you
influence
see when
into.
they take over, like even Star Wars and Marvel, that they
Right.
step away from the heavy topics because Iron Man at first was going to be way more of a philanthropist and not for war or whatever, but and then tackle harder issues. But then they changed things a little bit.
Yes. The other thing
This
is, you
is a
remember
little
that
softer. Now we're what's a
look
Jedi's emotions feeling? Not
look how
the
easily they're manipulating
politics.
these universities.
Mm-hmm.
That shows you how much sway they have because the universities have to fall in line. So it's a long story, but the rabbit
How
hole goes
aggressive
like
they're going
this.
at that too.
They're actually affecting our education, how you're educated, where you're educated, what you can
Hmm.
receive, what you can't receive, what jobs you get.
And then what books they cancel.
Exactly. They control quite a lot of things, right? They're very, very powerful. But having said that, so was Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is very, very powerful, and we still got the Snyder Cut because they're powerful, but the sheer numbers of people make us, the people, more powerful because they have to convince us, they have to sway us into believing that we can do nothing about the situation, which is not true.
Yeah.
And the sheer protests worldwide, every single country, there's protests in Japan, there's protests in Indonesia, there's protests in UK. It's all over the world. People are protesting what's happening, and that's a
Amen to that.
tremendous, that's not something you can stop. It's just too many people. And they knew this because you remember, to control the world population, this is why they're talking about, the ideal world population somewhere around 2.2 2.2 billion or something like that,
Hmm.
because they can't control it. It's not controllable right now. There's just too many people. So the world is now looking that, America is not seen like that light on the hill that it once was. it's,
No.
it's still it's still a influential, and it's still a nice place to be because the people there are nice. The people in America are nice. The leadership, there's such a big gap between the leadership and the people. It's like a
Yeah, it
chasm now.
is. It is. A
There's a
lot of
gap
them are
between.
generations before that were against a lot of civil rights things as well.
Right, this is true. In
So
the
there's a
60s.
bit of a carrying of the torch when they select certain people, or even some relatives get jobs because there's something that they grew up believing,
Right,
some ideologies. It's a lot of stuff, but it's also a lot of power and stuff. There's a lot of intertwined things, but um,
but they
a lot of
still they
Mhm.
still can't go against the will of the people, meaning they're going to
They'll
cave in.
try. They'll try.
Yes, they're going to cave in once the people worldwide start speaking with one voice. There's nothing they can do about it, and they
Yeah,
know
that's
this.
why they really want to control that voice too. Many
Right,
times,
so they try to suppress it, censor it. You see what's happening on
or
Twitter.
encourage
They're
one
trying to.
element
Yeah,
over
they're
the.
trying to stop people, but it's hard because it's so many.
Yeah, because essentially people are good, and I always believe that's going to
Right.
win in the end. We just can't give
people
up. We have
people
to
want
keep acting. We have to keep
people are
vocal.
peaceful. People want to just live, exist, live their lives, get along with people, have a nice time. That's it. That's general people like that. So, and then when you tell people these are the values you should espouse to, and altruism, and you preach Christianity, because the Western world preaches Christianity, right? It's not so much Islam or
No, no,
Um,
it's America is predominantly Christian Catholic.
yeah, Judeo-Christianity, right? So you're
That's mainly
preaching
what's in
that,
here.
and then people decide, okay, we're gonna live this, and then you do the opposite. Now
Like, what do you
everybody's like,
mean?
what? you know?
Well,
So I
essentially,
think
we have freedom to practice religion. It's just culturally, it's predominantly Christian.
yes, it's pretty. In God we trust. Basically, is on the dollar bill.
Hmm.
So it was a predominantly it was the Puritans and the fleeing political persecution. It was said that sort of went off and ended up in America
Hmm.
for religious persecution. They said so. It's just amazing how they fled because of religious persecution. Then they turned around and made the Native Americans flee.
There's a little theme going on here.
Yes, that's the problem.
You
Israel
gotta break
Israel
the.
had to
It's
flee
like
from
a
Europe.
disgusting habit that's gonna give you cancer and kill you later in the most uncomfortable
Exactly.
way.
It's like
That's when
you
you
would
gotta make changes. Like, okay, let's
you
all
would
have
think
freedom.
being the victim of something horrific, you wouldn't want that for anybody. So you would try your best not to do that to other people that was done
Exactly.
to you. Nope. Nope. It's the absolute opposite that happens, which is ridiculous, but it is what it is.
We could
So
be better, I believe.
yeah, this is why I'm kind of glad that people are protesting this because the cycle would continue onwards and onwards and onwards, and it doesn't order well for humanity. Humanity would not benefit from that. There's a saying in the scripture, as you do unto the least of these my brethren, you do unto me. So if you esteem somebody very low, then probably that's somebody you need to esteem as high as possible because that's the person that's the face of Christ for you
Hmm.
to evolve and grow as a person. So it's really crazy that and this is part of Judaism as well. So it's really amazing to see
It's
these
also in a way part of, well, they have another saying in Islam where it's like to harm one human is as if to have harmed all humanity. To save one human
exactly
is as if to save all humanity, and that was surah um, after the realization of the horrors of war.
exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And there's the golden rule, which is it really is golden. Do to
Yes.
other people as you would like them to do to you.
Hmm.
So
Love
if
thy
you don't want
neighbor.
to die, why would you want to kill somebody?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just these things that we've been taught since children to follow these precepts, and then all of a sudden, no, they don't apply in this case.
And I
It's
know we
just
know better because look how many people argue online like Batman shouldn't kill, Superman shouldn't kill, but never really the revelation of why. Because then when it happens in real life, no one does anything.
right. And then the other thing is, but Batman, we all know Batman doesn't. His agenda is not necessarily to kill, right? He
Exactly,
doesn't
but there's a
go out
story
there saying,
behind
"I'm gonna
like
mass murder all these people." He's
yeah,
not.
yeah.
He's not thinking like that
Like people
necessarily.
even know that, even when they know, like in Snyderverse he has killed, but there was a story reason behind that. There was a lesson to learn behind that.
Of
And
course,
my thing is that people are arguing off of petty things rather than the message of why you should not do that, which is the
exactly.
message. It's like I'm shocked that these morals have to be taught. Then when civilians are targeted, and then oh no no no, you guys, there's a narrative war about that. There shouldn't be a narrative war. That's wrong. We got to pull the plug right there. That's bad.
Exactly. And I'll also say that you know, in this case, you can tell motive. So when you know the
Right.
motive of someone, which is to kill, literally to kill civilians, to kill everybody and just eliminate, that's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you would never see Batman doing something like that,
Exactly.
right? Batman's not
Never.
a guy who's like, okay, my motive is to clear this area, but no, he's not gonna
Because
do
that
it.
story, that's the dark side.
Right. But he was getting there though
Mm-hmm.
with
And the goal
Superman.
is to stop that. But
Yeah,
then
he
when
was
we see
getting
that
there.
do into an area where people just don't wipe the area and turn into a barren wasteland, you know, that was the vision Cyborg had of the whole planet being eviscerated like that.
Right, that's dark side.
Yeah, you don't want to do that to other people. But then we have
Right.
this society that
Exactly.
aims
Exactly.
for that,
That's again
makes excuses for that.
anti-genocidal.
Exactly.
An
The genocide.
anti-genocidal film.
Oh, because I was having this thing on my channel a while ago where I was saying what Man of Steel is about, the hero's journey, and I was even saying BVS is your place in the world, and then the third one is like like that resurrection of Christ, the realization of justice and what's right, humanity.
Right.
And then what is, because it's five stories, what's part four and part five about? And I was like, the next level is how wrong war is.
Right.
And then they
Exactly.
pulled the plug on that theme because they got no, we can't show people how wrong war is. Even in Man of Steel, they had a cursor because Jor-El was saying, "What you're talking about is genocide," and then Zod
Right.
says, "And I'm arguing its merits with a ghost." So the ends
Wow.
don't justify the means, but you have this soldier who wants to rule the place militantly and is okay with genocide to get the job done. And
Exactly.
Man of Steel
Which
got
is
a lot
what's
of hate
happening
on
right
what
now.
exactly, and people were turned off by the destruction of Man of Steel. Of course you should, but in real life they're like, "Oh, it's okay if it happens to Gaza." I was like, "Wait, you're having trouble with Metropolis, but you can't have trouble with it happening in Gaza? Come on." Then you
This
missed the
that's
story
the
of Man of
thing.
Steel.
The thing is,
That's
when
possible.
it's right directly in your face, Zack Snyder takes something and slaps it directly in your face. He's like,
Hmm.
in your face. I want you to feel uncomfortable, right?
Yes, powerful
You
art.
can't avoid it. So now you have to make excuses. This is a bad movie. This is terrible. How could you let Jonathan Kent die? Jonathan Kent shouldn't die. And I just wanted to talk about his sacrifice, the sacrifice scene here, and the comments underneath this scene, which was pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Because some people were saying Clark's last words to Jonathan is, "Look, Dad, I still calls him Dad after what he just said." When he said, "You're not my father. You're just some guy that followed me in the
Exactly.
field." Right? He calls
Hmm.
him Dad, and then his
Powerful
last
statement.
words to his father are Dad, right? As his father's being pulled away with the tornado, he's saying Dad. And somebody else says, "This is such an underappreciated moment. They made Superman do the one thing that's hard for him,
Hmm.
absolutely nothing," which is really crazy because when you think about it, he didn't do anything. His father was telling him not to save him. So, that's the hardest thing in the world. Like when you can't do anything about a situation,
And then
you
you just
feel
have to accept it.
helpless, powerless.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy that, that could have haunted him for the rest of his life. I could have done something, but
And see, when you accept this reality of that moment, you don't shun it. Then you have these revelations of why that is, and the message, and the meaning, and then the deep thoughts of all the implications that, or all the themes and situations that led to that moment, to have a revelation of what matters, what's right, what's wrong. But instead, that's avoided when people are focusing on the petty stuff. It's like a narrative distraction
well,
to
it's
avoid from
most
feeling
times when
what's right
people
to know
speak, they
what's right
speak
to
from
do.
emotions. So sometimes it's
Mm,
their discomfort with the situation. So I think a lot of people they're very uncomfortable about the fact that they feel Superman could have done something.
mm-hmm,
He's capable, physically capable of doing something. He didn't do something. And it eats at them. And they can't get past the fact that there's more factors involved. The father doesn't want him to save him because he's not ready. The son's not ready to reveal himself to the world like that. And he's not ready for the repercussions the world may have on him revealing himself.
to where he's
So
willing to sacrifice his life to maintain that security and,
to
and
protect his
secure
son,
him.
that's correct. So this is what Zach is saying, but a lot of people, it goes over their heads because they're feeling so very, the word is very uncomfortable with what happened. you know, very, very uncomfortable because they have been brainwashed to believe that Superman saves the day. He saves the day. He saves the day. No, Superman could do something about the situation. He could save the day, even though
Hmm.
Clark is not Superman yet, right? He's a teenager when this story is being told.
Hmm.
He looks like because I guess the same actor Henry Cavill's playing this young adolescent uh, Clark. People don't process this is a young version of Clark. This is
Right.
not Clark as Superman yet.
This is like
But there's
Smallville, Clark. You know that show?
right. This is
When the
Smallville Clark.
whole like 10 years he's like, I can't be known to what I'm doing.
So he's still immature. He just said,
Hmm.
"You're not my father. You're some guy that found me in the field." He's immature. That's given away right there. And then it's interesting because of Superman 1978 and the perception that Clark, he's this perfect child, and
Right.
yeah, he has to kind of play it down, and his father trained him so very well. So they go with the fairy tale aspect of the story. They don't want to hear a realistic portrayal of the story. They prefer
Hmm.
to be in fantasy. They prefer to feel good. And Zach's saying, no, I don't want you to feel good. I want you to feel real feelings.
Hmm.
If Superman was real, this is what it would be like. That's what Zach's take is. His take is not, do you believe a man could fly? Let's go into some fantasy. Let's just imagine, right? He's
Hmm.
not going there. He's saying, I'm going to ground this. Even with Rebel Moon, he's not going into fantasy. He's actually going into a grounded reality of a fantasy, an imagination, right? So he's making it as grounded and as real as possible, which is why it's sci-fi as well, right?
Hmm.
So what happens is when you do that, it could affect people in very negative ways, but it makes them think about the situation. Now you have to confront that. Now you have to deal with that conflict in your mind, you know? So it
Yeah.
becomes a very reflective exercise. And
And
a lot of
then,
people
oh
don't
yeah,
want to go there.
yeah,
They just don't want to go there.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
Because then I was about to jump on that. Like, then what do you think happens there? Then they'll have to really think of ideas and deeper meanings of what's right and wrong. Correct?
exactly. And also,
Mm-hmm.
they have to go to an unpleasant place in their mind where they felt helpless
Or
about some
yes.
situation that they couldn't do, or they didn't do anything, or they couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like that. People don't like going those places.
Exactly. So what you explained beautifully all from the beginning of all that is that so when people see that on screen, they have this reaction to shun it and then don't have to think as much or feel as much. So they
Right.
just make fun of it. Oh, you made him die. Oh,
Yeah.
this, and he's not perfect. He can't do that. That. Then they shut off all these things because they're intimidated by accepting a certain reality or a challenge to their psyche or even feelings, to where they go back to the fantasy and defend it for dear life and insult what is now. Look at
Yes.
what's going on in Gaza and Palestine.
Exactly the same
The
thing.
same reaction. There's
Yes.
something that they have to challenge with their feelings and a reality of what they thought was. Like, I thought, I knew there were bad
Israel
people
was
in our
always on the right
government,
side of the
and
path.
yeah, this side was the right side. And then I didn't realize, after just doing a little bit of research and keeping up with current events, that no, there's a lot of villains at play here. Our government isn't perfect. Apartheid is a real thing. Occupation is wrong, and genocide is wrong. And oh my gosh, because when people feel uncomfortable, when people are challenged with what's right and wrong,
Mhm.
it is uncomfortable. It is scary.
Very.
Some pretty fluffy fantasies will be ruined, but there'll be a perfect, crystal clear paved path of what's right and wrong. And people in power that are doing wrong cannot afford people going there, because they will lose power because people will wake up to what's right and wrong.
That's correct. So
So
people like,
they rely on people being so uncomfortably ignorant or willing to be ignorant and brainwashed to preserve a fantasy, so they don't have to be challenged to do the right thing, because doing the right thing does take responsibility and sometimes sacrifice.
yes.
And I'm not saying like, anything gory or anything. I'm saying like,
No.
you have to put in your time, voice up, do what you can to help educate yourself. There's a lot of stuff we have to do, because if we sit idly by when atrocities happen, it's like allowing a school shooting to happen while you're seeing it, and you could do something about it.
Yep.
And
It's kind of amazing that we went from feeling powerless to do something to doing something. I think this
because I
generation's
think
been
that's the
actually
pinch right there. When you see that moment, there's that moment where you realize what's right and wrong, and the only thing you see is what's the right thing to do, and then you go from there.
right. Exactly. So I'm so happy that this generation is taking action on things and they're not
Right?
afraid.
That has made me very. I'm not gonna lie. I was of the older generation going, these lazy kids, da, 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 da. But I am very moved and very impressed to the point where I'm like, I feel like the future is in good hands. This young generation
Yeah,
is far braver than the old generation, uh, in dismissal of all this,
yeah,
but they're in line with the old generation that's wise in saying everything you said in the beginning of what they knew was, you know, they've been through enough stuff to know what's right and wrong
yeah.
to call it out.
And what is nice about our little group, which is, this Restore the Snyder group, is we also followed that same path. We didn't stay quiet. We didn't
Hmm.
allow, this powerful, powerful company in Warner Brothers to just, bulldoze us and silence us and censor us.
Hmm. That was
You know,
preschool to real life.
yeah, because Twitter and everything was trying to censor us. I don't remember. You remember the immense amount of pressure was put on us through the industry, but because the common person and we were genuine and we really uh, um, resonated with people and we stayed persistent. It
And
eventually
we were
became a
also
reality.
right. We
Yeah,
we were never off our rocker. There was something really wrong that happened, and we saw what needs to happen to correct that and benefit many, and that was the thing. And
right,
in many ways, I think, and I still believe to this day, that Warner Brothers are not just mad that Zach got his way, but I think that they're mad that the audience knew what we were talking about, and they can't stand that. That's why they,
right,
upon release, and Saranoff still made digs at us, you know, and there's
right.
still dirty jokes and like freaking Barbie at us.
But you know what's the thing? We got what we wanted. And not only
Yes.
did we get what we wanted, but now we have a voice, a platform, and people actually listen to us.
Hmm.
So, and that's the most
That's
important
why
thing as a collective.
as they attacked our Twitter, us through Twitter back in those days, they're attacking this young generation through TikTok. Way more crazy
Exactly.
than what we've been through. I'm like, wow.
And but you have to understand it, every little bit helps. So our little
Hmm.
group, when we did what we did, it emboldened other people to stand up for what they believe in. And Zach's
Exactly.
movies
That's
have always
beautiful.
been about standing up for what you believe in. It's always been that.
All his
Even
films have
Sucker
that
Punch
theme.
was about that, you know?
Yes.
So, it, it's,
Owls of
and
Ga'Hoole had that.
yes.
Where
And
they had to look at the moon and be brainwashed by moon shining. It's like all these little brilliant themes in there.
exactly, exactly.
Sorry, go on.
And do you ever think about why he even put the title Rebel Moon, not Rebel Planet? You ever thought about that?
I was noticing it. I was like, it's interesting because he picked Rebel Moon, not a planet, because of the planet being bigger than the moon. In some shots, and people complain, "Why is the moon bigger?" But do tell, my friend, do tell why he picked
Well,
that.
I thought it was just interesting that the moon determines seasons and times,
Mm-hmm. This is correct.
and it's a satellite around a planet. So it's like it's not the planet itself, but it's the moon of the planet. It's like a secondary thing. And I thought Zach bringing attention to something that we only think about every now and then, a moon. We think about the sun more than we think about the moon, right?
Hmm.
And is this, think about this. This
I
is a
think so.
moon at the end of the universe. It's like forgotten. It's like a place out there nobody thinks about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this dreadnought called the King's, I forgot what his name, the King something,
King's gaze.
the
I think.
King's gaze. The King gazes upon this forgotten planet out there.
This tiny
The
little
planet,
moon.
forgotten moon. Yes, this tiny forgotten moon. That to me is so crazy, So I thought, again, everybody was going to forget about the Palestinians, right? They were
Because
forgotten
it's such a tiny place, a tiny little moon, huh?
until they rebelled, until they
Mm-hmm.
fought back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like so crazy how these imageries intertwine. And I think Zach deliberately does this stuff. I don't think he will tell you, well, no, I was just writing a little story. He's so subversive that you can't really.
Yeah, sometimes. He doesn't want to give away too much. Like
No, he doesn't.
he could be like, so I was thinking moon and like
Yeah,
rebellion,
exactly.
and well, that's kind of cool. But I was like, nah.
Yes,
Yeah,
he talks like that.
it's like you don't need AI to simulate that. No offense, anyone who
Oh,
does. It's just like,
Zach's a hoot,
we
man.
know our boy, that's all.
So I think that's what I like about him. He writes these stories that empower you, and you end up doing. I cannot forget the
Even
queen of
even off the
our
off,
movement, which
yes,
was
because even in the off chance that he is not, the classical themes of telling great stories and for humanity and courage, and even in a mythological way, they all point to the same solid truths in maybe
right,
five different stories that they keep retelling in different ways.
right,
Right from wrong,
exactly.
and this great power taking advantage of a smaller group of people, and it's just universal to the point where if you follow that, again, like I said, the truth is very clear. People are essentially good,
It's
and
very
they
true.
recognize with that.
Very, very true. It's such a true thing, you know. And I would love to spend more time going through some of his DC movies, particularly Watchmen
Mm.
and Man of Steel, of course, and the
I would
other.
actually throw in 300 as well, just because Frank Miller, that's his project, and
Yeah,
Return of the Dark Knight was his project too, a DC film. So I feel it's like a good cousin to the
300 is
DC
something as
stories.
well.
As a
300 is
so I would
something
say his comic book films, really.
because again, he seems to always like the underdog in a story, like or somebody who's shunned. So
Hmm.
with 300, it was just 300 men. With Watchmen, I mean the
Even
protagonist
Sucker
for most
Punch was women who were controlled by men, literally.
exactly the
They
underdogs.
they had their uprising,
Yes.
and I think women having an uprising probably bothered a lot of like control freak dudes, which is fine. Screw them. So I think that's why I got extra rep. But yeah, and they were rebels.
Right.
They had to be for survival.
Right. And then
Their
you have
sisterhood, brotherhood.
exactly you get it. All team movies, even Man of Steel is a team movie because he
Mm-hmm.
teams up with the army, the military to take down Zod.
Mm-hmm. The
So it's
people
a
through
team up
Lois
movie.
Lane, and the
Yeah.
education board, the science with Emil Hamilton.
Yes. Emil Hamilton,
Yeah.
who I think is sucked into the Phantom Zone. So that should be crazy.
Yes, he probably didn't survive that one.
I don't know if he survived or he didn't survive. That would be interesting though.
Well, it depends where he was in the plane. If the plane crashed in the Phantom Zone, because being sucked in could probably look,
But that's the
transformative, and
thing.
then he
Even
would
if it
just pop up
crashed
real quick.
in, because it's a warp, it's a warp drive kind of thing.
Yeah, because even in Christopher the Donner films, they were put into, a piece of dimension, a piece of glass, and folded. It
Right.
looks like it hurts, but they came out all right.
Right.
The
Because
the
it's like
transformation into
it
the
bends
or
space.
yeah,
So
going
so
through the
so
Phantom Zone is bending
so
space and time.
when
Uh-huh.
they hit the ship, the world
Mm,
engine, you saw a big blue thing happen, and the whole thing kind of stretched before they
hmm.
went in, and then the whole thing kind of imploded on itself, sucked in, right?
Yeah, so I
So
figured they teleported to another dimension where they're stuck, just like traditionally it is, because we know our
right,
superheroes
like a
do.
black hole, it just kind of sucked everything in, the singularity.
Hmm.
So I don't know what they even look like. I don't even know if they have their dimensions anymore or anything. But maybe they can be recovered from the Phantom Zone, or maybe they spill out in another part of the universe. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
Anti-universe or something.
Hmm.
But
Where were we
yeah,
going with that?
I'm glad that you came on, man.
All
I'm
right.
really glad that you came on. It
No, I'm glad
really
you did this too, because I was sad I couldn't, start my own. Because with
well.
everything
When
going
are
on,
you
it's
gonna have
busy.
your own?
Whenever I can, I
Oh,
have a schedule, but I do every now and then. I have my podcast where I talk about anything, but when I specifically talk just about Palestine, I do those two as well. So
yeah.
I
I
would
mean,
let you know. I'll let you know because it'd be great to have
Palestine.
you on,
I
man.
I think I don't know what to say as they'll have to determine their future. But I do believe
They
once
would deserve their freedom. That's one damn
they
thing for sure.
deserve to self-determine
Equal
their
rights.
the future, yeah, as a nation, whether it's with Israel or without Israel, separate to Israel.
I would be
But
fine if they just left them alone and let them govern themselves like they always tried to do. When they ever
yeah, but
built
they need
like
to have their own military and everything. You can't have them not have their own military as well.
yeah,
So
that's
it's
how the
like,
occupation has to end. They even when they built that beautiful resort, 10 years ago or something like that. I have to look
yeah,
at the dates. Uh, they were like, "All right, we're gonna bring in some profit for ourselves. We got beautiful beaches." Then like a week later, it got bombed, killing the whole staff, faculty, and all that.
Jesus.
And they destroyed all their airports. They had airports before that. It's like so much has been wrongfully taken away from them in front of everybody's eyes. But now we're seeing it, tragically too late, but now the world's seeing it.
I don't think it's too late. I think it's because remember you have a lot of Palestinians.
I'm just heartbroken from all the losses, because all the loss up to this point. That's
Yeah.
why I say that, because I even met a Palestinian woman. She's Christian, and her whole family, not whole family, but 25 of her family members are in North Gaza. And I think 20 of them are under 18. So they said it's really difficult. They're really hoping to try and get them out. All the mosques, temples, and churches have been bombed, except
Jeez.
one Catholic Christian church in
Oh,
northern Gaza, which is where they're staying. That's the only
oh my God.
facility of worship that is still standing in Gaza. So they're staying safely around there for the time being. And is I think Egypt increased the price to get someone out. It's like
Oh my
eleven
God.
thousand US dollars to get one person out, and it's
Oh
been
wow.
rising. And it's a lot. It's crazy. And she has 25 family members there, so
Oh wow.
it was a crazy talk. So there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of innocent people that need to be saved now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's just awful what's happening in Rafah right now as well. It's just,
Yes. Yeah, that's sigh, but man, I pray to
it's
God
not a
every day
comfortable
for
thing
them.
to talk about. It's very
No, but
distressing,
it's
but it has
yeah,
to be talked about. Yeah, it
has to
has
be
to be
talked
talked
about.
about.
And God bless you, brother, for using your platform to bring awareness. I do too, and I don't know how many views I get, but amen. Thank you, thank God for you, man, to say what's right, because
Yeah.
who
Bro,
knows?
it
Doing
has to be.
awareness, we could
I
save.
can't stay
Who knows how
silent
many
on this.
lives we could save? Hopefully,
Yeah, I can't stay still. I just can't. And good conscience, I just can't do it.
I can't stay silent
And
either. No, yeah.
I don't get to do a lot of these streams, but every time I
Mm.
can bring up Free Palestine because I believe that they're gonna inevitably they're gonna get freed. Because no matter what, there are Palestinians outside of Palestine that can come back into Palestine. There are Palestinians in Jordan and the surrounding nations, so they
Hopefully,
can all go back
well, like
into
after
Palestine.
this, yeah.
Yeah. So no matter what happens, there should be a way for a free Palestine. And the structure
Hmm.
that Israel has currently is not sustainable. It's never been sustainable. It wasn't sustainable for South Africa, and it's not sustainable for Israel. It's a system that's falling apart right now, and it's taking all the Western bodies down because, of course, the Western bodies, Europe and even America, they support that system,
Yep.
which is scary because it
Very.
says a lot about the countries. They still have inherent problems with racism within their countries.
Hmm.
Within
Yes,
these
we do.
European countries that are supposed to be first world, they still have problems with racism. That's what they're
Hmm.
basically saying because this is racism at its
There's
peak.
still some KKK groups out here. There's a famous city called Anaheim here that was founded by the KKK, and when they had
Anaheim,
their
California.
uh-huh, that was originally founded by the KKK, and some suspect they still control it because they would have rallies every now and then, and the cops would come out to protect them. And
Oh,
they're still yet to be labeled as a terrorist group or a hate group or whatever. So there's a lot of dodgy stuff still going on.
that's what I'm saying.
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. It's
See, all the locals know, and then it's just that uh,
there's an appearance of everything's okay, but it's an illusion.
hmm
And the wounds still have to be healed underneath. There's a lot of wrongdoing that happened. I'm not saying that individuals are to blame for it. I'm just saying that systemically it's still there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And you have to destroy the system first, or you have to put something better in place of that system. Otherwise, it's still there.
That's why I think we need God, man. Seriously.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with that.
Seriously. Like,
Because I still struggle with generational problems and issues, and I count on the Most High. I count on Jesus, to free me of this guilt or these burdens that may come on me, because I find myself sometimes in these cycles, and I hate the cycles. I always ask the Lord, I say, Lord, will you, when am I supposed to get out of this? And he's like, patience. It's a process, and you have to go on this journey. So I respect that, you know. Because I don't like cursing and swearing. I curse and swear.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
I'm trying to, do
I
better as
don't
well.
like I don't like being harsh with people, meaning sometimes I have a tendency to be hasty with people. My
Yeah.
patience runs out, and I just get hasty. And I know these are not desirable traits. It's good to be patient. It's good to be You're not weak for being patient. You're not weak for being somebody who decides not to go down the path of anger or rage or revenge. You're not weak for that. But I tend to still have a short fuse, and there's just a lot of undesirable traits I have. And
It's important that we try. You know them. I know
oh
mine
yeah,
as well. I'm
absolutely.
working on them. That's
Yeah,
why. That's why God is merciful. That's why God is almighty and wise, and He knows what's in your heart. And I believe that He understands way more. And He's merciful because we are trying. We sin, and we have to try to do better. And as long as we do, I think that's a good place to be.
yeah. I desire to do better, and I've learned so much about myself through the Lord, studying the Word, all of that. And I
That's
gotta
what it's
say
there
though,
for.
I gotta say it's. I mean, you may not know this, but I tried to commit suicide as well in my life.
Oh,
So I do understand where Autumn might have been in her mind, mentally and stuff like that. But I would say this though, that um you know the unpleasantness of knowing who you are, or sometimes things that you don't like about yourself, and or you thought you had a certain image of yourself, just like how we talk about these comic book superheroes. We have a
mm,
certain image of them, but then when a harsh reality hits us, it's something we can't deal with or handle or process. Well, it's the same thing with me. I thought I was one way, and then I found out I was not that guy. And it was a harsh reality check, and it's very
wow.
uncomfortable. And why I like Zack Snyder's films is because if you can't grow if you live in an illusion, you have to face reality, right? That's how you
hmm
grow. And
hmm
part of growth is not sometimes being very uncomfortable. You're extremely uncomfortable sometimes, but you're growing so rapidly because you're uncomfortable. So, that's why I like Zach's movies as well, because I know he's going to to do something in the movie that's going to make me feel very uncomfortable. And when I
Mm,
do, I know it's a learning experience. It's something for me to learn something from.
right.
So,
I believe that too.
yeah, so that's why I actually gravitate towards his films now, because I'm always looking to see, okay, I know Zach's gonna do something that's just gonna really I'm gonna feel terrible. But I don't mind, because it's like I want to see what it is so I can grow from it. You
Yeah,
know,
there's meaning behind it and there's a lesson behind it, and I
there's
appreciate
always,
that.
and you
And
can tell he's been through some stuff too, because
yeah,
you can't just put that on the screen, and somebody else is feeling comfortable about it, and you're just cool with it. Nah, you went through that. You probably felt uncomfortable about that yourself.
hmm
And so, through that, you think the audience is probably going to feel the same way you do. So I think that's what he does. He always flips the script. That's why I'm waiting to see the rated R movie. It's not for the sex and violence and all that. It's the discomfort that I know he's going to have us in, but it's something he's trying to say that I need to hear.
yeah. For
So
me, it's the story, and that's part of the story. All of it's like intertwined.
yeah, yeah. So I really appreciate filmmakers like him. Ridley
Mm.
Scott, what's his name? Martin Scorsese.
Mm.
I love Martin as well. Martin, he goes out on a limb with everything he does.
Yeah, he's always been making people feel uncomfortable for,
Oh, he's very
some
edgy.
story and lesson to learn. Yes.
Very edgy. People don't
Very,
think
very.
they don't necessarily think of Martin Scorsese as an edgy guy, but yeah, he's
Yeah, people
in
forget
this day and
Taxi
age,
Driver and other things.
his stuff is not soft at all. He's
Yeah,
very
not at
edgy with
all.
what he does. Um, and I like what's his name? This director. I really love this director as well. Yes, James Cameron.
Mm.
James Cameron is unapologetic about what he says,
And I
and
like how
his
he does it
movies.
differently. He's very, very more beautiful and graceful about it. I think Zach is very more gritty and graceful about it.
Right, you talking about the
Gritty and
movie,
beautiful about it. I say James Cameron is beautiful and graceful about it. But they both
He-
tackle the same type of themes.
right? But he's very blunt when you're interviewing him. Like he's a very
Hmm.
blunt guy. He
Yeah, I
doesn't
like
try to
that.
be. He doesn't try to be diplomatic at all. He just
I mean,
expresses
truth
his
is
opinion
truth.
straight. You know. So I like him because he's not Hollywood. He
Hmm.
gets a lot of awards, but he's not this Hollywood kind of guy. He's like he'll
Yeah, I
tell you
like that about
exactly
him.
what's going on in his head. He's not going to filter it. He's not going to lie to you. So I like people like that. I like people who are dead on honest. The straighter you're a shooter, the better for me because I can move on it. You
Hmm.
know. Um, so that's what I like about him. Zach's more nuanced, and it's like you have to kind of fish to find out. You have to it's like
Yeah,
there's a
this is
clue
true. He's
here.
got some layers there.
Yeah, there's a clue here, and there's a clue here, and there's a clue. So he's very cryptic in how he speaks, and so he's kind of like a puzzle you have to unlock, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I like about him. And there's also John Woo for action, the director of the movie that Keanu Reeves was in. Uh, yes, the hired assassin guy. I forgot his name.
Oh, John Wick.
John Wick. There you go,
Yes.
John Wick. The director of John Wick he's excellent. I
Hmm.
like action too, so it's like I was just watching Damsel. I don't know if you watched that on Netflix.
Oh, not yet, not yet. That is on my
So
list.
check it out. It's actually it's the same actress who worked with Henry Cavill in Holmes, I think it was called.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Enola Holmes, I think her name was.
and that's like an interesting take on like the dragon taking the princess type of story.
Right. Now, this Dragon Princess story is interesting. It's very interesting. I really enjoyed it. It's quite gritty. It's quite graphic.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's quite graphic. I was very much surprised at how graphic it was. But it's an interesting story. It's a nice little take. It doesn't have a whole well, it has some elements to it that are worth considering, but yeah, but it's very interesting. I also watched One Piece, and One Piece is pretty good, man.
Mm. Oh yeah, the live action.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. I don't know. People give Japanese uh, comic book movie adaptations a hard time, but compared to comic book movies in general, they're doing a great job, in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah, they did a
I
great
like
job
them.
with that first set of shows, of TV shows. It was
Mm.
good. So I watched that as well. I want to watch. I'm watching. What am I watching right now?
I'm gonna try and check out Avatar, the live action Avatar: Last Airbender.
You didn't watch it?
No, no, not yet. I want to binge it properly.
So
I
how do
love
you
that
know about the
series.
Fire Nation?
No, from the original series, the animated.
Oh,
Because what's good about that is one of the creators of that is also very, very vocal about being for free Palestine.
that makes
And
sense.
after knowing that and looking back at how the Fire Nation was doing genocide to the Air
Oh yeah,
Nation, and moving on to the Water Temple and occupying the Earth Kingdom, it's all
yeah.
there too. It's like wow,
Oh yeah.
and so much more to draw from it, even spiritually, and
Yes, very
fantastic
much.
show. So I'm very
Oh, so
happy
you
you could
saw
champion
you
it.
saw Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animation.
Yes.
Ah, well, You're gonna see the live action. The live action is not bad at all.
No,
It's
no,
not
I'm
bad.
looking forward to it. I didn't like the first live action attempt. I
This is
was
the
really,
second.
really angry about the one that
I
hit
think
theaters. So this Netflix one's, I'm really, really excited because it
this
looks like
one's a
they did it right.
series. This one's not a
Yes,
one
this
film.
series looks like they did it right this time
Yeah,
in
they
terms of
expanded
live
a lot
action.
more on stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, so I watched that, and it's something I'm supposed to watch, but I can't remember what it is right now. Something I'm looking forward to watching because I didn't watch it back in the day, so I want to see it because I'm glad I actually have the Netflix subscription.
Mm.
Do you know about Rebel Moon's success? How successful Rebel Moon was?
Actually, yeah, thanks to your post and your show, I was tuning in. It's still
Oh,
doing very, very good, brother. Thank you.
yes, and Warner Brothers
Yeah,
Discovery is doing very, very bad.
yeah, I retweeted that
It's
one.
like there's an inverse.
Oh,
Like what is going up, what is going down. I'm like, what's
and
going
then
on
they're
here?
they're writing on this new quote quote pedo friendly director
Oh,
to do a Superman movie to save it. I don't know. I don't know. It
I
looks.
mean,
I don't know. But before I forget, to what you were saying earlier, I appreciate you still being here around, man. I'm glad you're still with us. You're an
yeah, I'm
amazing
still
guy.
here. I'm still in the
Yeah,
line of the
always stay
living.
here, man. Always stay
I'm
here.
still on YouTube.
No, no, here in general with the whole, mental health and
Oh yeah, yeah,
suicide
yeah.
prevention.
It's
Yeah,
a real thing, and
it is. It is. I know.
I believe that.
I'm glad you're here.
I'll, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad I'm around still. Yeah, it was terrible, but I learned that there's a power greater than people were praying for me, and as well, there was a power greater than me that kept me from doing that. Thankfully, so I'm so thankful to God because God kept me alive. He still keeps me alive to this day. I was very sick in 2017.
Mm,
I probably should have died, but I didn't die. So I'm very grateful to the Most High for that as well.
I'm grateful too, man.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you're here. You bring such
Thank you.
a positive energy to everything.
I
Like
hope
you
so. I
always
don't know. I just feel
you
like I
invest
show
your
up.
time in such positive things. And I like that. The gaming, the camaraderie. You always trying to bring people together. I always love that. I love that.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Appreciate it.
I even like how you're approaching even the Palestinian issue. Me, I say all kinds of dumb stuff at times, and I guess it's just blurting out emotions. But I like that you are constructively always trying to bring people together. Like you're not really interested in annihilation of this person or annihilation of that person or payback. You're interested in how can we make this work where people can come together.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I don't have time for all that negativity, man. Sure, I'm old. People forget how old I am, or maybe I forget how old I am. But I don't got time for that. And
I got you.
there's just certain conducts, certain behaviors, certain things I'm just not gonna feed that fire because I know how the forest burns. So I'm not gonna take
Exactly.
part in that. So
I
I'd rather
agree.
build. If I have no one who wants to help build, then I'll do it on my own or go elsewhere where I can. It's just
I like that. I like that
build
because
destruction.
negativity does
No,
consume a person and
it does.
they just go downhill. You really do
Yeah,
go downhill with it.
I'd rather have my face dragged in the mud, which it has, and all kinds of things. But choosing the better way, I found peace quicker. Usually, the hatred of the other side dies down quickly or slowly, but either way, it's far away from me.
Right.
And when in doubt, honestly, just turn to God and give it to God. God's there to
Yeah.
judge everybody, and I trust in that. And uh, in this life, let's say I'm not great or treated well or even accepted truthfully, I'll be accepted over lies. It doesn't matter because the decisions I make, God will see, and I'll do my best.
His
Because
blessing.
we are.
I
This
love
is
that.
one humanity, one family, one rock in a spinning, empty vacuum of space that's constantly moving. We're all we got. I
It's
got
true.
no time for that negativity stuff.
I
Nah.
agree. I agree. I still have work to do, but on me, but I mean, I totally agree with you on that,
Oh,
man.
I have work to do too, but as long as we're doing it, some people don't even do their homework.
Right,
uh,
right.
I don't know.
Well, if you could you give everybody your channel so that people who will be seeing this video, maybe they're not seeing it live, but they will see it later, that they will know where to find you and your name. Well, we see your Koj, but I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
still.
My handle is Lord Koj because that is a meaning for Lord and Koj, God and I.
Ah,
Also, it's just a handle. I need something somewhere. I took Koj by itself, but Lord Koj on YouTube, you should find me. Lord Koj on Facebook, but I'm barely on it. I should do more on there, but primarily YouTube, and I voice and share a lot about Palestine on Instagram more than any other app. So definitely check there how I feel about Instagram. And I do some updates, but mostly, what's going on in Palestine is taking over that one, rightfully so. And then Twitter, which is a split of both. But yeah, that's the
so you're
PJ. That's
Koj
my
on Twitter as well.
yeah, Lord Koj Twitter, Lord Koj Instagram, Lord Koj YouTube.
So if they type Lord Koj, separate or together, is it two words or one? Koj? Hello? Oh, okay. Three of you.
My browser just dies after every moment. It's weird. I'm
So
using
Lord Koj is one word or two?
oh just one Lord Koj.
Okay. So it's just one word. And it's on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, the whole nine.
Yeah, Instagram,
So
Instagram.
you'll find him on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube as Lord Koj. Not Koj, because I
Lord
see
Koj.
Koj right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Make sure I say it's Koj,
What's
because that's how
Koj?
I like to be referred to. But the handle is Lord Koj.
Oh, the handle.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lord Koj would be on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
Or like my brand, I guess. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Lord Koj on Twitter. So everybody now, when you see this, uh, duh, 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 Instagram as well as Lord Koj, right?
Yes.
IG.
Thank you.
There you go. Boom. Bam. Boom. Bam. Boom. There you go. So hey, if
Oh,
you
thank
want to find Koj, this is my guest today. You can find him on Twitter as Lord Koj. You can find him on IG as Lord Koj, and you can
you.
find him on YouTube as Koj.
Lord. No, no. Yeah, yeah. It is Lord Koj and Koj on YouTube both. Sorry.
You're Lord Koj also on YouTube?
No, I was saying I go by Koj, but yeah, YouTube is Lord Koj also. Sorry, I was explaining
Nice.
that
So
poorly.
awesome, man. Yes. And how is the Foo Street Fighters?
Oh, my Sniper Fighters or something?
Snyder Cut Fighters now.
Yeah, yeah, the video game. Is that what you're asking? My wrestling
Yes.
game? That's on hold. I'm doing little updates, trying to finish the storyline in there. But yeah, that's just
Okay.
one of the shenanigans I do on my page just for fun and
Yeah,
promotion.
that's actually it's quite cool.
Yeah, thank you. But I'm
Very
enjoying these
innovative.
lives I'm doing, more of the podcast, more of the watch parties, which was so fun to have you on for Rebel Moon. That was such an
Right.
experience. I'm glad you did that with me. And it was a blast to have you. So there's fun stuff like that going on there.
Yes, man. I gotta go and attend that and see if I don't know. I'm not really much of a gamer, but I would love to still try and
Oh, it's fine. I got plenty of stuff for non-gamers. It's all good.
oh good. So you will see me on your channel.
I would love to have you. We could talk about
Yes, playing or
Palestine.
playing those games, man. I would like to see how that goes, man. Have a
Yeah,
little
well, I
fun.
have one where it's a bunch of fun random trivia, and all you need to do is uh, use your web browser on your phone as your controller and play the
Cool.
game with us. And it's just a
Oh,
bunch of trivia questions.
ooh, okay. So there you go. I'm gonna
Yeah, I'll try
definitely.
and take care of everybody in the fun way I can.
When are you gonna be doing another one?
I don't know. Probably towards the end of this week. That's for
Okay,
sure.
good.
But
So
yeah,
I'm
every
in.
weekend.
I'm in at the end of the week. Just let me know. It's Friday. Friday, you say?
I really don't know at this point. I'm doing a lot of things,
Okay.
but yeah, I usually tweet or make a post about it.
Right. When you make the post, hopefully I can see it in notifications because sometimes the notifications don't come on
No, I've
YouTube.
also been shadow banned by YouTube,
Ah,
Twitter, and Instagram, depending when I post or say something about Palestine. So it
wow.
doesn't always show up. Like I was at a protest and I met this one girl who was protesting with us. And we're like, "Oh, where are you? Well, find me here." And then she was typing me in. I didn't show up until a certain amount. And she's like, and me without telling her, she's like, "Wow, you're shadow banned." Like she already knew. I was like, "Yep."
Wow.
Like, wow.
It's crazy.
Because I'm in LA, we were one of the protests. We ended our protest right in front of the Zionist headquarters there, which is close to UCLA, which makes sense why the cops got there so quick. So it's
Right.
kind of funny.
I
We all
know.
ended the protest, and all these Palestine flags are all over the building at the bottom, and
Funny.
their cameras are picking it up, or people working late in the office, like, oh, these guys.
Right. So they probably called the police.
No, back then, no. Now they're doing it
Okay.
on UCLA because it's just like, I think the Zionist headquarters is like 10 blocks away from UCLA campus,
Right.
something like that. I don't know, give or take.
It's just amazing, man. It's amazing what's going on. And
Mm.
you would never, you see, I didn't know about Zionists like this. I didn't know about
I
that.
didn't either. I found out like in
That's
October. I was like,
crazy.
whoa. And it didn't take long to find out about it. I think that's the part that these
How
people,
did they keep it a secret
negative
for so
people,
long?
I gotta say, I've been ignorant about it, and I've been distracted about it. I knew I have one Palestinian friend who's in the movement, and he was bringing stuff about it. And I looked up, I was like, oh, that's mean. They're bullying people out of their homes. I was like, that's wrong to
Wow.
be evicted. But then I didn't look further into it. Had I done so, I would have found out what so many people have been petitioning and protesting for decades on. This is nothing new, you know? And
Yeah.
I even got a little bothered. I was talking to another friend who, or acquaintance, I think is a little pompous. He was like, "Oh, well, I knew about this since high school." And then I was bothered. I was like, "But you didn't say anything. I've known you for so long. You didn't even bring it up to me, and we talk about so many things." See,
Right.
there's this, like what we were saying earlier about people not liking Zach's messages with Superman or usage of Superman because they don't want to think. The thing is, I
Right.
feel like people don't want to think about what's going on here with Palestine to the point where they're in denial or won't even speak up because they feel it's not cool or it's not comfortable or it's not safe. And then the
Right.
truth gets subsided. And then such pretty much all this negativity, I think, continues through ignorance and ignorance that's encouraged. But that's breaking now, thanks to this generation and today's age of information.
For sure.
And
For
people
sure.
are voicing
You
up,
can't
like
avoid it
you.
right now. It's like
Hmm.
headline news. And I think people need to. They talk about movies being escapism, which is to some degree good. But I
Hmm.
think sometimes movies help us to confront certain issues in our lives or in other people's lives, or be aware of issues in other people's lives, and then ask us the question, what you're going to do about it. Like a
Right.
movie that does that, I love those movies
Yeah,
because
I do. I call them films right after that because it provoked something.
yes, it provocative. That's it.
Hmm.
Perfectly. They're
Yeah, I looked it
provocative.
up. The difference in film and movie. I was really confused, and then I think the definition with film was using cinematography in a clever way, unconventional, non-conventional way to convey thought and feeling and emotion. Where a movie is just telling you a story, plain and simple, beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
So it's
Look
like,
at that.
that makes sense. Like, or your blockbuster movie, like, I don't know, like freaking Fast and Furious. That'd be a movie.
Yeah, that's a movie. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah. And
entertainment.
then, and
That's
then you, and
popcorn.
then you'll see something that is pop culture, like Avatar, James Cameron. Just
Right.
they keep it non-Snyder for the sake of it. Um, it's entertainment, but there's a it's thought provoking too. So
Very
using
much
is
so.
a hybrid of what? And then you see a true life film or artsy film that's just astoundingly beautiful, like let's say stuff Scorsese does, and it's filmed because it's very, very thought provoking.
Oh yeah, a lot of thought goes into Scorsese. A lot of thought. Like
Hmm.
he really
Even
delves
this
deeply
show,
into the human psyche.
yeah.
Deeply into the human psyche. Ridley
Nolan,
Scott's
total
another
fan.
guy. Really, Scott does some controversial things sometimes, right?
Sure.
Like Napoleon. Some people are like, I don't know about those dates. I don't know about the motivation. But Ridley Scott, what I like about Ridley Scott is he not only does he do research, but he's kind of going into the human psyche a lot with case studies and these kinds of things. So it's like it's not just it's not just necessarily the reality of the situation, it's what the perception of the person of the perception the person has of reality that he's more interested in than the actual reality. And that's what sometimes people get. They say, no, historically this didn't happen. Okay, but maybe in Napoleon's mind that's how it went. So,
Mm.
he kind of goes into that. He makes it personal and goes into that sort of. It's kind of like Joker. Joker's take on what happened, right? It's not necessarily the reality of what happened. So it's the same
Mm.
kind of thing, you know. I like that. I like the psychology of something where you're actually they're literally carrying you into the person's head. What
And
they
then
actually think.
there you have film, because that's deep. That's thought provoking. There's
Yes, it is.
another layer to understand it.
Right. Even Oppenheimer again is inside of the man's head.
Hmm.
That Christopher Nolan's trying to go. So, those are the things I like, in film. And to me, they're meaningful. There's some Marvel films that I actually enjoy, like
Into the Snyderverse.
into the
That's us.
Snyderverse. I was
That's
gonna
our
say,
story.
I'm into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, yeah.
That I thought that was masterfully the first one. I don't know about the sequel. I didn't
I
watch the
haven't
sequel.
seen the second one yet, but yeah,
Yeah, but
that's
the
a
first
beautiful,
one
masterful
was
film, man.
so innovative, different. Just fantastic. You know, so I like those kinds of things, and especially because they carry some sort of, uh, you know, some sort of lesson or story behind them, besides just "Oh, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened." And the moral of the story is, instead of that, you have like a more nuanced, artistic way of conveying the story over and over again, or looping
Hmm.
it or whatever. So I love those sort of things, because I don't, like I said before, I don't really go in the cinema like that,
Right.
you know. Um, how about you? Do you go to cinema very often, or you're a cinephile? Like,
Not as often as I like. I do prefer films at home. I have a decent setup. So I
right,
usually rewatch a lot of what I like because I'm still trying to pick apart to find some inspiration or revelations, you know, what really
right.
moves me. So I see them when they come for home release more, but I do try to make my way to the theater. I would say the last one I saw in theaters was actually that Civil War movie, but before that was Godzilla minus one. Those are the last two I saw in theaters.
Oh, Godzilla.
Yeah, the Japanese original. No, not original, but
Oh,
the Japanese one, which was very artistic, and they played with the historical accuracy of it happening during the end of World War II after the wake of bombing of
wow,
Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And
wow.
it was very, very impressive, my friend. I was like, wow.
I gotta watch that.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Especially someone like you. I think it would be one of those films that fit your requirements of what you're looking for.
Right. And that's another thing I wish that fans of cinema would understand. Different fans have different taste in things. And
Exactly.
sometimes you're
And
saying
that's
this
to
is
be
a
respected.
some people say this film is a bad film. No, it's not to your taste.
Exactly. Like, are we going to argue over which fruit is superior than the other one?
You know what I'm saying?
It's not going to end. It's not going to end. It's going to end with higher blood pressures and less of a good time. That's how it's going to
Exactly.
end.
If
And no one's opinions will change at the end.
no, because
No one.
different people have different taste in what they
Exactly.
like. So I always try to explain to people, maybe I'm not trying to convince anybody to watch any film, right? Because I believe different people have different tastes in different things. So if you like, some people like movies with a lot of jokes. They like funny, they like humor,
Hmm.
right? And that's their thing. And they think it's a great movie because they laughed a lot. And there's
Or
nothing wrong with
like,
that.
exactly. Or like we're watching an action film, and like you and I were talking about earlier, one could be excited for the explicitness and the gore in the
Right.
action film, yet there's also some of us who enjoy the action, not so much the explicitness and the gore, but admire the character and storytelling around it. You know,
Right.
we're seeing the same movie, liking it just as equally, but
Right.
we're enjoying it differently.
Right. Exactly.
So there's all
This
these layers that
perfect.
should be known and respected and taken in consideration when passing such extreme judgment.
Yeah, and even with this very delicate subject called superheroes, which
Right.
people are very touchy about. Again, some
Surprisingly
people
so.
like a certain version of a superhero
Hmm.
character. Some people like Batman the detective, some people like Batman the vigilante, some people like Batman the enforcer, right?
Oh, they just like
So,
his gadgets, and they're like,
right,
check
some
how
people
cool he
just like
is.
his gadgets. There you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, so the people who say, but Batman doesn't kill, I get it. I get it. You like a Batman that's more of a detective, probably, or more someone who
Or
is
even lives in a world that has, little stakes.
right,
Because sometimes it's the environment that they're in. Sometimes Batman has a little kind of goofy, cartoony persona.
right. There's
That is
many
another
different
version.
versions of Batman. It's not that's the thing. They you can't pigeonhole these icons, these big icons, into a box. In that respect, there are limits to which you can't cross, but for the most part, it's up to the writer's imagination where they want to go with this particular character,
I
what they
agree.
want
They're
to make
telling a
this
story.
character go through. Yeah, you
Hmm.
know so if sometimes there's these big wars about Batman can't do this, or Superman can't do this, or Wonder Woman can't do this. Sometimes it's just your preference. It comes
Yeah.
down to preference, really.
Yeah,
uh,
and I'm like, we should be talking more about Palestine. This is even more trivial. You guys are fighting
that's the
over
point.
the rightness and wrongness of Batman and Superman heroes of what they do or not do while people are being killed. Come on.
Exactly.
Switch
and
the focus, like reverse it, and then we'll be better.
I agree. And also I think that but as passionate as they are for the characters and so on,
Correct.
I think also that they should also look at this. When you look at the world these characters are in, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want the world to be more fantasy like,
Mm.
because they want escapism, right?
There's
And
less responsibility when you're escaping.
right. This is the whole point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like you're saying with Palestine, the story right now, they're probably positive things you can find. People who survive certain things, acts of heroism. There's probably a whole bunch of stuff, stories that we don't know about that have happened in Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
which would be great for us to hear, because a lot of things we hear in Palestine are negative. But I'm sure there's a lot of positive things still happening in Palestine, and you just don't get to hear those stories. But my point is, a lot of times people, when they hear such heavy news and information, um, they want something to feel good about, so they would resort to these superhero movies.
Mm.
But what I'm saying is, I prefer, this is my personal preference, to know the truth and to confront that truth than to be told a bunch of lies and get, as we say, comforted to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So, whereas I may enjoy a movie that confronts me and challenges me, another person may say, man, that's too heavy for me. I,
Yeah,
I,
that could be
I
true.
checked
Like
out."
people escape to the let's say, oh, I'm going to see the Superman movie because they can't help this genocide topic, and they see Man of Steel, and then they see Jor-El arguing with Zod about genocide is wrong. Like, oh, I wanted to leave reality, not face
Yeah, so they're like, it's
these
too dark,
decisions.
it's too heavy,
Hmm.
right? They'll tell you things like that, and the reason is they checked out. They're like, nah, it's too much for me. I just left.
And it must be stupid. What a bad movie.
Exactly.
We're doing that for
So,
you.
like you're saying, they should be talking about Palestine. You and I would more talk about Palestine because we actually want to be challenged and confronted and face reality and then do something about it, right?
Hmm.
Whereas not everybody wants that kind of entertainment necessarily, right? So I don't know if it's because of our brain and our background, but we, I guess you want to spend your time wisely. So the same thing with me. I want to spend my time wisely doing something good.
Yeah, so if
So
we're enjoying ourselves with the movie, and the movie reflecting deep thought and good themes of good morals, essentially,
right,
to me, I'm like, all right, I'm enjoying my time off, break from reality, but also I'm not forgetting what matters in an entertaining way. See,
exactly,
it feels like I'm not completely being lazy because I'm still thinking, I'm still feeling while I'm having fun. Some people like to just abandon all responsibility of proper thinking and proper feeling just to have fun.
right,
Because maybe they're not making the right choices and they want to escape from the responsibility to make the right choices.
right. So
Many layers.
I look at it as I want to be challenged. So I'm a person. I don't really like I don't like other people thinking for me. It's not
Yep.
necessarily a good thing and not necessarily a bad thing. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you
Yeah.
need help, right? But I like that Zach doesn't spoon feed me. I like I could figure out things. I like to figure out things. So because of that, I enjoy his movies because I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Hmm.
Now, not everybody's like that, right? And
Correct.
then, like I said before, a lot of people will say this movie's too heavy for me as a superhero movie. And I think this happened because of certain Marvel movies that came out. Because in the beginning, you would watch, well, Blade was heavy, but it was dark, right? It wasn't really heavy. But
Yeah.
Blade was something. Spider Man, Sam Raimi's Spider Man was heavy. That's a
Hmm.
heavy movie, right?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Blade was very dark in content, but um Spider-Man was light in content but really heavier in feeling.
Heavy in tone and everything.
In
It's a
tone,
heavy,
yeah.
heavy, 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 heavy movie.
Stronger
And
themes.
Blade is dark, but the story's not super heavy,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So now Man of Steel is heavy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
It is a heavy movie. It's emotionally heavy
Hmm.
and it's also thematically heavy. So
Written by the guy who wrote Blade,
right.
David Goyer.
So it's one of those things where but I think the earlier comic book movies were actually more reality based and pretty heavy. Unbreakable's pretty heavy.
Hmm. I
Um
would
you
even
know
argue the very first live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was very heavy. It was very
Oh
dark and gritty,
yeah.
and
Oh,
I
that was
love it for
actually
that.
intense.
Yeah.
That's a pretty intense movie for a child's movie,
Yeah, something
right?
that was born from a cartoon, born from a Toyland series, born from a satire dark comic book. It's like, wow, so many generations, and we got that as a film. That's a gift.
Yeah, it
That's
was heavy.
that's impressive.
But I actually enjoyed it for some reason. I don't
Oh,
know
I
why.
loved it. I loved
I loved it
breaking it into
too.
pieces. So
Because
good.
it again it pushed you to this other level. You weren't expecting it to be this way, and then it took it to another level.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
then
and
even The Crow, 1993.
oh, that was a very heavy movie.
Yes.
That was a very heavy movie.
Strong graphic novel. That's like
Oh
the
man, that
heaviest, I
was
would
something
say.
though.
Yes.
That was quite a
Magnificent.
movie. Yeah. So that's a heavy movie, and actually so heavy that even the story behind the scenes is pretty heavy. But it
This
was
is
it was a
true.
fantastic piece of work. I have to say. I even revisited it recently, and yeah, it stands up to the time still. Quite a movie. And action scenes and everything it's
Even the
quite a film.
shots,
It was quite a film.
straight out of the graphic novel.
Man, that thing's crazy. You
Hmm.
know, but the point is that you know it, I respect different people's taste in movies. So
Hmm.
if you can't
We
handle
should. We should.
yeah, because I can't handle horror. I don't want to see no horror
I
movie,
am with
right?
you there. I cannot do the horror.
Right. Some
When
people
I see
love
those
horror
trailers, I'm
movies.
like, okay, I'm gonna look away for a bit.
Exactly. Some people love horror movies, right?
They do.
Now
I
I
don't know.
can't say that their taste in movies is terrible. And
I
then
dare not, because they find what I cannot find, which is a beauty in it all, and
right,
I respect that. But I also know I can't find it.
that's the point. So I realize that Zach attracts a certain kind of person to his movies.
Mm,
And but at the same time, he has general audience appeal. And what happens is, because of the enthusiasm and people realize, oh, this thing has layers to it, a lot of people start to look at his movies. A lot of adult people, particularly,
mm,
um, because the older people want more in a film. So Zach will give you what looks like a simple storyline. Oh, the story looks simple, and then you realize, wait a minute, there's more going on here, and you start to peel off the layers, and you really have you have a blast going through it, watching it again and watching it again. So, but that's not everybody, right?
right.
And so what I found is some of the people who protest about Zach, or they say they hate his movies, or that he's just style over substance, or um that he's he can't tell story. It's not that they mean what they say. They're saying I can't handle this stuff. This stuff is too much for me. That's what
Mm.
they're really saying. So I began to realize that as a human being to another human being, that's just not their thing. Their thing is, hey, listen, I need to go just watch something fun, have a couple laughs with friends, drink something, eat something, and go home. They're not interested in entertainment necessarily teaching them anything. They're interested in, that's a pastime where I can relax.
Mm.
So I think, and socialize. I think that's what some people are like. And that real life, when they go back to real life, that's where they'll start do their learning and take the hits and stuff like that. So some people don't go to the theater necessarily to leave with something. It's actually an interval or a break for them
Mm.
from things. And I
Interval.
think I
Good.
kind of learned to respect that more than, so if I see somebody who's kind of going in on a movie, even on Twitter now, I say, well, I'm so sorry that you know the movie didn't reach you like that, because
Mm.
I get to understand that that's just not, it's not the thing. It's just not their thing. So their way of expressing that is kind of negative, but they're really basically saying, I really just don't, I can't watch this movie. You hear some people say 5 minutes into the movie, I can't watch the movie,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's
Hmm.
because they can't. They really can't.
Which is
It,
fair.
it's too much for them.
I
It's
it's
not their
just
thing.
excessive to go out above and beyond and out of the way to tell other people that they shouldn't either.
Right. So,
And even for us, we shouldn't do that to other people too. And
yeah,
I can see a film sometime. I'm like, what, I do need to escape. I'll enjoy that film that way.
right.
So we can watch all film that way. It's just that there's no bad thing of a movie aiming to be thought provoking in an area you least expect it. If it's surprisingly there when you didn't expect it, then, and if you're not moved, then try and watch it another time, or
Is
again with
that too?
different lens. Or if you have no choice but to watch it, appreciate it. I mean, there's some movies I saw that were thought provoking I was in the mood for and I didn't get it. Then I thought about it, didn't hate it. Then I revisited it and I enjoyed it even more. It was just the
Yeah,
timing for me wasn't right. Sometimes maybe it's just theater etiquette. We gotta encourage more instead of like who's right and wrong on an opinion, which is never ending.
right, right. That's a again. I'm learning a lot. You gave me a very
I'm getting
important point
inspiration
right
from hearing you speak, my friend.
there. You
This
serious?
is true. This
All
is true.
right. Well,
Good.
sometimes because I deal with people on Twitter all the time, and
I
I
used to,
have a
so
very bad habit of, you know, either laughing at them or mocking them and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, that's not the way to go. Like, that human being, I don't even know who this person is on the other end of the Twitter thing. You know what I mean? And
for
you
all
know
we
what's
know,
weird?
you could be taking it bad or good, but they could be taking it worse. Why
This is
encourage
true.
that? We have no idea.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, if I was to probably talk with somebody face to face, I probably wouldn't tell them the things I tell them on Twitter.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? Because it's a
Yeah,
human
that's what I
being.
think about too. That's why I want to be mindful when I engage with people. When I feel or sense or get an idea that there's some animosity, I just want to entertain it in general. So I'm like,
Right. Because I've realized sometimes you're talking to somebody who's probably a very nice person otherwise, but they just feel very strongly about how they feel.
mm, yeah,
And so that it comes across a certain way. And then if you, because you're not seeing them, you're just seeing this emoji or whatever. You're hearing their
yeah,
thoughts, but you're not seeing them, right? So I feel like if I was to see that person, probably talking to them face to face, I would have much more respect for them
mm,
as a human being like myself. And so I had to, I even have to dial back on how and I don't really feel these days like doing that to people. And if for example, the person is just going in on me for no reason at all, just going in on me, I could always mute it or something. I could mute the person. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Then just let them continue. So like but I don't want to go into these ego battles. Like I'm beginning to
hmm,
realize it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. It helps nobody. No one's getting helped by. Yes, I'm sharing information with someone. For example, I may share information, articles, or whatever. But
mm,
then at the end of the day, I don't want to be somebody who turns around and starts to label this person or call them stupid or
yeah,
laugh at them or make fun of them. Because even if the person is a fake account, because most of them are fake accounts, right?
hmm.
Online,
That's true.
it's a bunch of trolls, but a lot of fake accounts, right? And sometimes, like the most recent thing I said was, James Gunn, is that you? Is that a WB exec? I literally said that, right?
There are a
To the
few
person.
accounts I question that too. My
So I said that to the
encounters.
person. I don't
Yeah,
know who it was, right? And
right.
I'm like, yeah, because the person supports James Gunn and stuff like that, which is their prerogative. There's nothing wrong with supporting James Gunn. My personal opinion, that's your taste, that's your thing, fine. But I'm just saying that I said that to them, and I'm like, suppose this person's not James Gunn. Suppose this person, you know. So I think about other people's feelings all the time when I start to comment. And as I said before, I cross the line all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like as a person supposed to know better that I shouldn't do that. I don't
Uh,
curse them out. I don't say F you and stuff like
oh,
that.
good,
But
good,
I
good, good.
still,
But you still feel you cross the line.
yeah, because it's like, you know when you have an attitude to somebody,
Yeah.
you know when you've crossed the line and you just didn't, you said, I'm not reeling myself back in. And I'm like, no, you need to do that, bro. Because you're trying, your whole existence is supposedly to help other people.
Yeah.
So why would you, and Zack Snyder doesn't do that. So I look at that and I'm saying,
Mm.
look, this guy, no matter what people say to him, he's smart and everything, but he doesn't insult people like that. Except when he said suck it, Warner Brothers, which was awesome. But
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
but he didn't really he
But you
kind
went
of,
through so many layers of taking a beating, and in all retrospect, that's like the nicest thing he could have said. He could have gone way worse, but he
yeah,
didn't.
but he didn't really, you remember it was led on first by what's his name?
Stephen Colbert, the talk
Stephen
show host.
Colbert. So Stephen Colbert kept on doing that. He says like, "Suck it, Warner Brothers." So to make the joke complete, Zack Snyder said what he said: "Suck it, Warner
Yeah.
Brothers," which is hilarious. So it was more a joke than it was
Yeah, yeah, it was more a joke, but to be fair, they got back at him and Barbie, so it's like, oh, okay, these guys this way.
Yes,
It's
they
like, all right,
did.
you guys are gonna be like what is it,
I forgot
Drake
about
and
that.
Kendrick Lamar? You guys did it first, and it's like, what? Bring the entertainment beef to sell the other?
That's actually true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a hip hop thing.
That's kind of funny though.
It
You think
is, it
about
is. I think that's them, like helping each other, but taking a diss at the same time. It's like, wow.
it. I think a lot of Snyder Cut fans were actually offended because they're like, Oh man, they're calling us this.
I think it was hilarious. We're important to be called that. I was like, oh, you guys are hilarious. Bring it.
It's pretty funny.
It's again. I'll go back to Palestine. It's like, yeah, we know when Netanyahu is making a lie.
I saw the big Hamas jokes that they were putting. Like
Oh
there was
Lord.
a time when everybody was saying, "Okay, that's Hamas. That bird flying in the sky, that's Hamas."
Uh,
I remember there was
this
this
little
joke
puppy is
going
Hamas.
around on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah. I saw
Everything's
one where they
Hamas.
were like shooting at a
Yes.
wall. There's no one there. They're just trying to make this like Call of Duty action promo videos. They're shooting nothing. They're running around looking like they're in battle, but they're not. It's like, oh, that wall was Hamas. It's like, man,
It was hilarious. And then right now there's the students who are talking about they're dramatizing. They're doing these short little clips, dramatizing a host of the funny stuff about Zionists, and the
mm,
Zionists are saying, when they're protesting and bringing things, they have all these little jokes that they do. It's really funny how they're making fun of the situation, and I think humor kind of diffuses some things. It has its place.
yes. Always everything with its place, of course, because there are those political humor ones. Like I saw another one being shared. It's an old school comic drawing, of like this jet going flying over civilians and dropping a bunch of bombs, and the jet pilot has a Israeli flag or Zionist logo on it, and he's saying, "We're defending ourselves," while they're just flying over, dropping all these bombs on these people. And it looks like your comic, and it is kind of funny in terms, but it is playing on the idiocy of what's going
Right.
on, you know.
Yes.
So this is all powerful stuff. This is history right here, and
Man.
uh, I'm just praying and doing what I can for uh, true justice and peace. This is not it,
Absolutely.
And then again, powerful art, even in that comedy
Yes.
of comic strips, it's informative, So
Oh yeah.
again, someone
And
could hate on that because then even it's funny, it's thought provoking too, because you're like, well, actually look at the situation, and it sparks a conversation.
that's what I love about these things. And hopefully, more pressure could be put on the United States to stop uh, funding Israel and stop supplying them with
That's gonna
munitions.
be hard. That's
But
gonna be hard. The
the
lobbyists,
best
but
place on earth you can be right now
the best
is in the
place is
United States, because you could actually
there's a
put
place
that
we could
pressure.
change it. Hopefully,
Oh, definitely can happen. Can
yeah.
happen, I believe.
I always believe in the spirit of America and the spirit of American people.
Yes.
Governments and politicians, not so much. I never have
Right.
been. They look like the Lex Luthors and Zods to me. My faith is
They
in the people,
are
the Lois
closer to them
Lanes.
than they are, yeah,
The
than the common guy.
yeah, the Supermans, Batmans, Wonder Woman.
So that's why what's happening right now and escalating in America with people wanting their voices to be heard. That's
Mm.
why it's escalating like that. Now it's like it's made news. Campuses are now not only in the United States but also in
I saw in
Canada and
Japan
in
was starting too.
UK. Uh, and what's even more amazing is we're talking about the Ivy League campuses,
Right? The
Stanford.
really smart ones, the ones that are so
Yes,
expensive, I
the
couldn't go
ones
to.
the ones who come from wealth, the ones who supposed to actually support,
Mm-hmm.
this stance, they're not supporting it. They're not supporting it. So this is what's so amazing, and to see professors and other admin of
Mm.
universities being arrested is also amazing. You know,
Yeah.
you remember this thing started with, I think it was the president of, what was it, Stanford. She was fired for supposedly anti-Semitic things she said,
Mm.
and or no, I think no,
Calling all
actually,
Palestinians terrorists is anti-Semitic.
I think she was I think she said something about Palestine, or she didn't take strong enough action on somebody. I can't remember what it exactly was,
Mm.
but she lost her job for that. And that's where it all started to begin. So I'm very happy that this is what snowballing into, because not only now are they worried about the present situation with the present generation of people, but now they have to worry about the future, because the future set of people are not on the same team with them. So
Nope.
you're looking at the future lawyers,
People prefer to be
doctors.
on the right side of history, and I'm not saying that as a slogan. People prefer peace. People prefer to doing what's right. People prefer what's good.
Yes, I agree. People don't like war either.
Mm-hmm.
We
And
learn war doesn't help anybody in the end.
yeah, and
That's-
people, we're all way more unified than divided. Look at
Yeah,
us talking in different areas of the world, getting together to do a good cause. People are
right.
strong.
Exactly. And there's no boundaries anymore. I was just about to talk about Fiona Zhang, which I cannot
Mm,
forget. Fiona
never forget her.
brought us all together, and she's Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
She lives in China. She took a risk to go on Twitter to support, Zach, and support the movement, because she's not supposed to be on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
She's, and I don't know what has happened with Fiona. I hope she's okay. But she
I
came,
haven't
she
heard
did
from
what
her
she
in a
had to do, and
while.
she disappeared.
Yeah.
That's kind of like,
I
what
also
I
heard
think.
she got hurt physically. So
Oh, she did?
last time I was hearing of her and about her, whereabouts and well-being, but that was also around the time she made her last on-camera appearance at that fan event, TC Fandom.
Right.
Around then was when I was last hearing of her, but I know she got physically hurt, but was recovering at the time when I last heard of her. So I just think, with all the restrictions on Twitter back in China or whatever, and everything that she's gone through, with the vindication of the Snyder coming out and being able to say hello to Snyder on FaceTime, I think,
Yeah.
retiring hero, she's earned her stripes. She's given us so
Most
much.
definitely, man. She and a bunch of the original people, including yourself, um, really did a great job when it comes to this. If we're very effective and very efficient. And I
Oh,
miss
thanks.
some
I
of
still
you.
see. I'm freshman to Fiona's senior, but it,
No, but you were there from the
everyone did a
beginning
good
as
job.
well, right?
Yeah, I tried as soon as I could. Fiona was my inspiration to say something.
Nice. Yeah. I like that she didn't try to bring attention to herself or anything. She just,
No, it's never about that,
yeah,
and
it was about the
I learned
cause.
from that. It shouldn't be about that too, because um,
It was really
it
awesome. And I
it's
think
really
this
the
is what,
message that matters. The message. A
yeah, I
lot of
think this
people
is what
like
you have
change.
even taken and carried to the next level. And there was somebody, I forgot her name right now. I can't remember her name. She used to be on YouTube. I don't know if she's on YouTube anymore. I forgot what her name is, though.
Is she have brown hair?
She had black hair.
Black hair. Okay, I wanna think of
But she ended up in something other movement. I think the BLM movement or something, and then some other movement.
it.
And then she was up in Michigan dealing with the water situation up there and stuff like that. I forgot what her name is. She's from California as well.
Huh.
She,
I feel like I should know.
yes, you do. I just can't remember her name right now.
It's gonna come when we're like off, and you're gonna message me,
Yeah,
or I'll
but she
message you
was
like
like
this one.
one of the founding members as well. You know,
Mm.
and the name came and disappeared. Yeah, but
It is a late hour for me here.
yeah, I'm sorry about that. It
No,
is
no,
two.
it's okay. It's okay. I'm having a
No,
great
it's
time.
two.
I'm
It's
just.
almost 3 o'clock in the
It's
morning where
probably why I
I am.
can't think.
So
Oh, it's later for you. Yeah, you're East Coast.
yeah, I'm East Coast.
Well, God
So
bless you for doing this at such a late hour, man.
I know, but I just had to,
No, I'm glad you
And
did.
what can we do online to in a coordinated way to support um the efforts that other people are doing in terms of free Palestine? That's what I would like to know. What do you think we should do online
One
concerning it?
one main thing is to always keep talking about it. That's number one. Awareness
Right.
and not taking our eyes off the situation. That is the number one thing. I think boycotting helps personally. just from this
Yes, I
Marquette
agree.
experience. So do your homework, feel what's good to boycott if you want to, help put the pressure
Right.
uh, financially. But that's everyone's own choice. But that's one. And three, I think. Well, another thing is be careful. Some people are trying to make money off of this. Some might make a fake account. Hey, give us money here, and we'll get so and so out of
Oh, to the
Gaza.
Palestinians?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So be careful
You
of
have
a
to
lot
watch
of
out for
fake stuff
that.
like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
definitely.
That's just a general rule of thumb. But I say, I don't even. There's a Yeah, just keep educated about it. Talking the most. I will go to protest. I'll do a march with certain groups like the Jewish Voices for Peace.
Right.
They have one in New York. There's one in LA.
Yes.
Palestinian Youth Movement. They also are around. Those two I've protested with, and they're very peaceful, very organized. They get permission from the cities to
State.
do the marches.
Wonderful.
I would say follow them. They do the thing by the book. Good, honest people,
Right.
peaceful, and do what you can to help where you can. I think those are the key things. But most important thing is awareness. Because had other people around me who claimed to know or did know and speak up, maybe I could have been doing more sooner. So
Right.
I think if we keep talking and sharing the truth of what's going on, essentially, I feel we all have to be journalists when our news, commercial, and media that makes money off of commercial revenue has failed to do so.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, that's my opinion on that.
So, do you watch Double Down News?
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah, Double Down News. You've got,
Yeah, that's independent. That's
yes.
funded by the people. That's another good one.
You have now Mehdi Hassan, who has formed his own company, and he's his own sort of news outlet, and he also puts out into the news things that concerning Palestine that the mainstream media doesn't talk about.
Mm.
So he's another one. Then you have, well,
Yeah,
there's
following journalists is good.
yeah, actually, what's the name of it? Breakpoint, I think it is, or something like that.
Oh, Breakpoint,
Um,
or there's also
they
some
they cover kind of
BP.
stuff that happens in DC, but they also cover Palestine a lot.
Mm.
And you have what's the name?
There's some BT, I think, Breakthrough News or something like that. I forget.
Yes, Breakthrough News. I think it's called
Ah,
Breakthrough News. They're pretty cool. It's like their logo's kind of like red, blue, and
mm.
some other color. I can't remember. So them. I also I watch
There's also Code Pink, led by this wonderful Jewish American woman.
Code
Uh,
Pink.
Code Pink. It's a bunch
Okay.
of ladies, all kinds of faiths and backgrounds. But the leader is this American Jewish woman who has been getting arrested, kicked out of Congress,
Oh
and she's
wow.
always asking tough questions, following these people, and legally that she could go up to and recording them so you could hear their responses. And she was on the flotilla, this boat,
Oh
on its way to Gaza,
yeah.
risking their lives. They don't know if they'll be shot down or killed. I think she was arrested for being someone there, but she's part of that. And I think they were, last I checked, they were getting permission to get closer to Gaza from some water space in the Mediterranean, or getting close to the
Okay.
Mediterranean. So
I heard that Nelson Mandela's son is on
yes,
one of the
Nelson Mandela's
flotillas.
son.
Yeah, he's going to Gaza. I don't know if he made it.
Yeah, I have to check after this. I just forgot where.
Yeah.
Oh, here's my phone. Yeah.
I also
So.
know about
Mhm.
Democracy Now, which is a long-standing channel you should check out. They always cover. They're right
Middle
now.
Eastern Eyes good. Al Jazeera News.
Al Jazeera is
AJ
pretty good.
Plus.
Yeah, Al Jazeera is pretty good. Yes, Middle Eastern Eye. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
They're good too. I see them all the time on Twitter, and plus I
Mhm.
subscribe to them on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, they're good. And you have, of course, what's his name? He's a Jew. I can't remember his name for nothing, but he's a reporter. He's a journalist. You know what I'm talking about? I
Mm.
forgot his name. Hold on.
You said photojournalist?
No, he's a journalist. Journalist. The Gray Zone. The Gray Zone. He's the guy
Ah.
that's in charge of the Gray Zone. You don't know him? He's good.
I'll look
He's
him up. I probably do. I'm just a little tired right now.
yeah. I'll list a whole bunch of them
Yeah, yeah.
another time.
We'll share.
Yeah, I'm sorry to keep you up so late.
No, no, no. I'm just happy to be here.
We'll wrap it up right here. It's 2 hours, 34 minutes, 19 seconds in. I hope that the viewers who see this will really
Or
enjoy it. I'm
BVS
so happy you
theatrical
came
cut
as a
link.
guest, Koj. But we really do need to talk more about this topic, and I think I'm much more structured, just devoted specifically to this
Well,
because
anytime when
it's
we
like
can, I'm down.
75 years to almost 100 years of
75 years and 208 days. About.
Jesus. It's just, and it's been happening over and over again.
Hmm.
They've annihilated Gaza how many times? They've done it. It almost feels like the Matrix, different versions. Crops were harvested and we had to clean out some crops and
Hmm.
stuff like that. It feels like the Matrix, man. How they
Yeah,
wiped out a
because
whole set of populations and started
yeah,
all over. I'm like, wow.
and they said the
This
goal is
happened
to flatten
before.
everything, kill everything there. So if
Yeah,
the
they've
place
they've
has
they've
2.1, 2.2 million people, and they're close to what, including people who are not found on the rubble, around 40,000 dead,
they're at
lost.
55,000 people.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it's gotten much bigger. And I think what they said it's like what
55,000 out of that 2.1 million.
right, but then you remember there's over 70,000 people who are injured.
Yeah.
Plus, we haven't talked about the people underneath the rubble still,
Hmm. And the people
who could
starving
be
to death.
alive or they could be dead.
Hmm.
So it's crazy. It's just insane how many people have been affected. And then don't let's not talk about the significant portion of the population who's on the verge of famine.
Hmm.
They're dying of lack of nutrients. So
Hmm.
it's a lot of craziness going on in there, and
Yeah,
it's
two,
just
3 days ago, I saw footage of some of the food trucks being stopped and all the flour being taken out and cut open and just spread out on the ground and spat on and walked over.
it's insane.
Uh,
And the reason this can happen is because one side has too much power,
and they're not
so
using it
they're
well.
taking it out on defenseless people
Yep.
because they regulate what comes in and what goes out. So you can't even have
Open air
weapons.
prison.
Yeah, it's terrible. So and no outsiders are allowed in there right now. You can't have journalists out there independently, looking to see what's happening. They're on tours or something, or they're getting killed.
Hmm.
It's a ridiculous amount of journalists that have been killed, by the way, in there.
Yes, very. It's
So,
one of the reasons
so
why we're hearing less of it.
right,
Tragically so, yeah.
it's crazy. I mean, so it's like that's why I said there needs to be a united front, like a worldwide military that goes in there, and the only worldwide military we have is the United Nations peacekeeping forces. So they should be allowed to go in there and protect the UN workers in there, should be able to protect the people who are transporting the food in there, should be able to protect, and you should have peacekeeping forces moving through the skies, so that if these trucks are going in there, it's a no-fly zone. Peacekeeping forces need to be there to make sure they don't bomb anybody, target anybody with drones or any crazy thing like that. That's what has to happen. Somebody needs
Yeah, no
to.
targeting civilians.
Yes, you need protection, and these people don't have any protection. And it's common sense, but that if you're making so many mistakes and killing so many people, then you need oversight, and that
Hmm.
oversight should come from the United Nations, and the oversight should be in the form of the peacekeeping forces. So the peacekeeping forces have aircraft, they have military tanks, they have you know high different munitions, they have drones and all that. That's supposed to work. It shouldn't be up to Egypt, it shouldn't be up to Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Iran, Iraq. It shouldn't be up to those surrounding countries. It should be a worldwide peacekeeping force. Their goal is to maintain the peace, like police or like So
I
they're
think
supposed
the
to be able.
problem is that the countries at play that are in power, abusing the power and for the occupation, assume that they are those peacekeepers force.
Yeah,
That's
but
the problem.
no one country should have to make a step forward. But
Exactly.
if needs be, then the surrounding countries will have to take action. You know, unitedly, and we may have to end up with a war because of this.
Is that the
But
end goal? Is that what these people really want? And
that's
how
what
do you
they
think we
want,
need
so
to
that they
do
could actually wipe out everybody
it?
that's in there without under the cover of war.
And they don't
That's
have
what
to
they
worry
want
about
to do.
witnesses because then it's accepted
Yeah,
as quote quote
it's war.
part of
So
war.
now I
So we
can,
can do whatever we want because it's quote
yeah,
quote part
completely
of war. It's
finish
acceptable
the
now.
genocide. Yep,
Yep.
that's what he's trying to do. That's why he's trying. They provoked Iran. They provoked Iran by blowing up the embassy. They did that to cause a war. Netanyahu wants war so that
Hmm.
he could stay in power, and besides that, he could finish off the genocide. So
Exactly.
when the dust clears, Israel has, you know, United Nations grants Israel this territory, and from the river to the sea, man.
Yep. And I think that's why, they need someone like Biden because Biden is a Zionist. If they get, with Trump,
Right.
they would get support, but they won't get the support that they want. With Biden, they get the support that they want.
Well, I don't know about that. I think Donald Trump would be bad for business because
No, no, he'll be
I
bad
think
for business, and then they can't afford to support Israel. So then we win that way.
Trump will support Israel.
Oh yeah, he will. He already has. With
Right. So
assigning Jerusalem and all that stuff.
Biden supports Israel as well. So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is,
Either way, they're going to support. They're
you
just
want
going to
somebody
support it
like
differently.
you
They're
want either
systematically
Cornel
using.
West, or I heard
No, I want
what's her
Cornel
name?
West. He's got my vote. But
You know who else? This
what's that?
lady just recently was speaking out against it. What's her name? I forgot her name. She's a politician. I just forgot her name though.
We're not good with the ladies' names tonight.
I think she's the head of the Green Party or something like that. But
Okay.
she is also speaking out against it,
I have to look
which
her
is
up.
good.
I do a
So
good study like 2 or 3 months before voting.
that's possible, but I just think that it's so, like, this thing can't be covered up anymore because it's so
No.
open now. Everybody knows about it.
Everyone's already up to date. People are either in
Yes.
the know
People are
or
just
in
wondering
denial.
what to do about it. So it's more about what to do about this
Yeah.
than it is about
What's doing right?
everything's exposed now. Everybody kind of knows what Israel's about, and everybody's like, this is awful what's happening. What
Hmm.
can we do about it? And a lot of people feel they can't do anything about it, but we are realizing that you can do something about it. And this is what's happening now. Besides the International Criminal Court, the ICC putting out a warrant to get Netanyahu, which is, I mean, that's as
That's
serious
good.
as it gets.
Let's keep going.
Even though America is threatening the ICC right now,
Of
the
course.
point is that they're going to issue warrants. Now, whether they deliver those warrants or not, it puts more pressure on Israel and puts more pressure on the United States of America.
Yeah,
You
but I
know,
still don't like it because Netanyahu is still saying we're going into Rafah no matter what.
well, the thing about it is he's not a popular guy in his own country.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really like him like that. There's no coup. They're still maintaining the order, which is good. But they need to. There's a way to get rid of him right now, but the the Knesset is not doing it.
Mm.
They can just do a simple majority vote and get rid of him,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not doing that. So it's really up to the people. The people have been protesting. They've been protesting because the hostages are not being released, and the whole
Neither are
goal
the
was to get
Palestinian hostages.
right. But the thing is, the goal by Israel was their goal was to deal with Hamas, get the
And bring the hostages.
hostages.
That was what they told their own people, but they haven't even
Yes,
done that. This
they
government.
haven't done it. They've done it kind of partially, and that's again the only way they could get the hostages successfully was through a ceasefire. They've tried other methods to get the hostages, and they have been unsuccessful.
Hmm.
So,
Those
and we all
methods
know,
included killing 13 of their own Israeli hostages.
right? And the thing is, they have something called a
It's not
Hanover,
working.
because remember the hostages that actually were released. they weren't speaking bad about Hamas.
No, in fact,
That's
three of
what's
them were
so
found
weird.
at the protests for a ceasefire, to have a ceasefire in Israel. They were protesting for Palestine.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to
It's
say.
like,
That's what I'm
whoa,
telling
hello,
you.
people. Hell, anyone see? It's like, wow.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. So the
Mhm.
government and the people are not necessarily seeing eye
Just
to
like
eye.
here
The
in
government
America,
and
it
the
seems.
settlers, they're seeing eye to eye.
Yeah,
And
settlers in there are
the
doing it.
French
Like
people, because
here,
they've been stealing territory.
yeah,
To
and the
be honest
police
with
in our
you,
government
I'm gonna
here
say
seem
something
to
that's
die.
probably some people are gonna think controversial, but I don't think so. The
For
truth
sure.
be told, Hamas, when they came out, if you think about it, it's the strategy was to bring back hostages into Gaza, yes. But also you have to understand the territory right outside of Gaza was Palestinian land
Mm-hmm.
that was illegally taken by settlers.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what they're not saying, right?
They leave
And
that out.
so actually they have a right to the land because it
Mm-hmm.
was taken from them illegally. So them, even if they were to reclaim that land, you can't say that's terrorism because it was their land.
Yep.
How can Israel argue that, hey, we 2,000 years ago, this was our land, right? We're coming to take it. But a guy, people who have maybe 100 years ago, it was their land, or 20 years ago, or 5 years ago, it was their land. They're not going to go back and take it. I mean, come on now. So, I mean, that's the reality of the situation. You listen to people talk about Hamas as terrorists, and I'm not saying that some of the things they didn't do were terror things and horrible things. I am saying that the reason they even did what they did was because there was nobody else resisting.
Mm-hmm.
The PLA, the Palestinian Association, they
Oh, you
weren't
mean
doing anything.
PLO,
The
Palestinian
PLO, the
Liberation
PLA,
Organization?
not the PLA.
I thought it was Well, I know Wu Tang calls it PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization. I know that from Wu Tang.
That it used to be the PLO, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah, it
it's
used
not.
to be back in the day, but
So
it's probably
after,
PLO.
yeah, after Arafat died, I think they call it a PLA. But the
That's
thing
right.
is, the PLA is doing nothing to protect the citizens in the West Bank. Nothing.
Yeah, they're also their hands are tied because a lot of their leadership gets countered by IOF and Israeli policies and politicians.
Oh, I see. Well,
'Cause
the thing about
I
it,
was reading somewhere where one had to step down from their position and some other stuff that like they're limited. There's a lot. They're being bullied too and backs against the wall.
okay, I see.
There's a lot of other complicated stuff going on there. They can't really, unfortunately, do much.
And they don't have a militant arm anyway. They
No,
have no You see
no,
evidence that Palestine
no
has no
military.
military. How are they going to protect themselves and they have no military?
And also, some people even say Palestine doesn't even exist.
Well, it doesn't exist as a country, but it exists as a nation.
Yeah, yeah,
Meaning,
exactly. Like with India, there's Punjab. The
right,
Punjabi people. They are their nation. See, the thing
right,
is, people forget it's not just a country and land that is of a people. People are the nation. People are the culture. People are the the kingdom, so to speak. So when they're trying to
right.
obliterate, quote unquote, nation, it's essentially genocide. That's why
Exactly.
they're not acknowledging them because they want to erase them. They want to wipe them out,
Yes.
and that's what we're
They
doing.
want their land.
Exactly, they're there.
That's all. This comes down to land.
Mm-hmm.
And they say this is all going to be our prime real estate. We were promised this by Britain and we're taking it. And that's what's going on. Right. And they make the excuses. The excuses are we tried with you. We tried with you for several times with different agreements, and you wouldn't come to an agreement. We were just going to take the land. Right. So this is that's what they're arguing. That's the Israeli perspective. And it's about who wins the war. So we're going to win the war and we'll take what we want. Right. So this
Yeah,
is how they're
rewrite
talking
history.
about it. Yeah. And they're saying, well, you provoked us to do this. This is their argument, which
Mm,
that's their argument. Now, Nobody's buying it, but that's their argument, right? And the problem with this is that the longer they continue like this, is the more pushback they're going to get, the less popular they're going to be. And it doesn't matter if you try to, basically, what they're saying to the world is shut up, let us do what we want to do. And the
Yep.
world's like, no, we're not doing that, you know? So the more they continue to try to use bullying tactics and try to quiet people, is the louder people are going to shout. And that's what they don't understand. You can't muzzle people. And even how they shout over the Palestinians. I was watching an interview with Pierce Morgan and um, the one of the Palestinian representatives, and then an Israeli representative. And the Israeli representative constantly was interrupting the Palestinian gentleman when he was interviewed and shouting over him. And um, he said, "Could you please shut up?"
Oh, this the guy who was speaking for Palestine. He had glasses and a mustache, right?
Yes, he's
I
prominent.
remember
Yeah, he said, "Could you please shut up?"
that. He didn't say it
And-
as nicely as you said it, but yeah.
no, no, he didn't.
But it's true. There's a huge bias towards one narrative.
It's like he's not entitled to say his piece. They're trying to muzzle him, and you can't
Hmm.
do that. And so it just shows how much, uh, the culture, the system there has to be changed. It just has to be changed. What they call Israel, what people call Israel, and saying it has a right to exist, that Israel doesn't have a right to exist.
Mm.
It's not working for even the citizens. The citizens are being treated terribly. They don't even have the freedom to speak their minds on what they really, really believe without being incarcerated or intimidated, threatened, their lives threatened, etc. So those, how can that survive?
Hmm.
We
I
live
put
in
a
a
link
world
in
where
your
people can
chat
say
of
almost
another one I
anything
saw.
now,
Oh, sorry.
all over the world. So you try to restrict people, they're not gonna take very highly to it to start with,
And
and
besides,
they
restriction is also a sign of someone who's not in the right as well. When you put
right,
it
or
that
somebody's
hard.
compromised in some sort of way, shape, or
Hmm.
form, and they don't want people to delve too deeply into what's going on with them. And so, you know, that doesn't work anymore. People are not going to be intimidated. If somebody really feels they need to say something, they don't care if you kill them or not. They're going to try and say it, and they'll
Yeah.
say it as loudly as they can. And that's what's happening on the campuses.
Hmm.
That's what's happening in Palestine itself, with people having protests in there. In the West Bank, they're doing the same thing you see in the UK and all over the world. People are
Hmm.
saying "Free Palestine," and they're
And
having
what
their
people don't
marches and
realize,
protesting.
or will realize later, it's one or the other. They don't realize now, or they will realize later. Or it's actually both. But the voice is louder, especially when it's true.
Of course,
That's why all these different types of protests are growing and evolving and getting bigger because there is a huge truth behind everything that they're doing. It's not this is tragedy isn't a trend. It's a problem and it needs to be, fixed and solved, not
yeah,
fixed. And all these kids
and
know it.
and people are willing to die for what they believe in.
And now we're going back to that rebel moon, but it's true. It's so
I just
true
felt
though.
I had to say that.
Yeah, yeah, I saw what you did there. It's very true though. It's very true.
They're willing to do that now because I think a lot of people don't want to live a compromised life. They don't want to be, worried about what they say,
Hmm.
if it will reach the wrong way, and that costs them or their families their lives. People prefer I'm free enough to say what I have to say, and if I die by it, I die by it. But I feel good saying it if it's the right thing to do.
Hmm.
So I think that's what's important to a lot of people, and they're willing to go to the nth degree if necessary to make sure that these things stand. These values are kept.
Hmm.
I think it's a good thing.
I do too.
Well, on that note, Lord Koj in the building. I've been blessed to be with
Thank you,
you.
Christian Disciple. I've been blessed to be here talking to you again, my friend.
Thank you. My name is Christ I Am Disciple.
That makes more sense. See, you're fixing my
Just like how Lord and Koj.
yes, I fixed I corrected my handle, you correct mine. Christ, I am disciple. That's
Yes,
beautiful. I like
meaning
it.
Christ, I am a disciple of Christ.
Beautiful, brother.
I only did that because I didn't want to call myself a Christian because at the time, Christian, the name was associated with a lot of bad things. So, um, too many people call themselves Christian and then they, you know,
Their actions
I
prove
even fall
otherwise.
short of the mark. But I said, you know what? Let me just call myself a disciple of Christ instead and move in that
Because we're still
direction. But I've
students, I think. Yeah.
sort of failed though a bit.
No, the
I
class is still
try,
in
but I still
class, or
curse.
maybe class is still in session. God's still
Yes,
teaching.
classes. Exactly.
Very
Class
good.
is definitely still in session for me. So
Me
I'm in
too, brother.
school. Yeah, but I really want to walk the right way. I look at early Christianity, Islam, even the early Jews.
Hmm.
I look at all of them and I say, that's the way to move. Because honestly, the earliest Christians were Jews anyway. So,
Mm.
um, I always believe that you could walk in that. I did. I'm further along now, but still at the same time, I used to walk more perfectly in a certain way,
Mm.
and then I sort of veered off a little bit, and so I'm trying to walk more perfectly than I walked before. You know, yeah, like you said, school's in session.
Yeah, classes. It is. It is. And we're all brothers and sisters and cousins, and you know,
Yes,
we got each
but
other.
I've learned a lot though. I learned a lot in this walk. I'm not gonna lie to you. I learned a lot.
That's beautiful, man. I think that's the point. That's our duty to do that. So
Absolutely.
I'm very happy to
So
hear that. I'm proud of
on
you,
that
man.
note,
Yes.
uh, blessings to you guys. Check out Lord Koj on Twitter, IG, and Koj on YouTube.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
you guys have a good night. God bless you, my brother, in
Take
what you're
care.
doing. You are a beacon of light to all of us. I definitely
You
enjoy
are
your.
too. You are too. No,
Thank
we're
you,
all
man.
lights.
Have a good night.
Thank you. God bless, brother.
God bless you.
Good night.